Hello everybody, I'm Technovoid. Welcome to the stream. We're back with the great Ace Attorney Chronicles, part 17. It's not right, it's like 13 or 14, I don't know. Anyways, last time we played the game, we were in the middle of a case, and now we're back in the middle of that case. It's pretty crazy. That is how linear time works though, so that's what we're gonna do. So just to recap, hello Strom in the BB Sunshine. Just to recap, last time we were in court on the case of Albert Hairbrain. We were trying to prove that even though he killed a man by accident instead of on purpose, because that man got inside his machine and then it transported him to another place and he was fucking dead. We're trying to prove that, first of all, the machine didn't fucking work. And we sort of proved that, or at least we said that it could have happened a different way, by a dude shooting a balloon and something popping out of it. Surprise Thursday stream. I did say I might do it in Strum announcements. I did say it might happen. And so it did happen. So here we are. So that's what we proved last time, or sort of proved, and now we're day 2. To do some more investigation, and then tomorrow at your regularly scheduled stream time we will be tackling the final trial and getting this case nice and done with. But what can I say? I'm excited. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to stream Saturday due to some other plans I have, and next week we're going to be streaming Pokemon Legends Arceus, so won't be streaming this then. So I wanted to get the case done before. I wanted to get the case done before we started Pokemon Legends Arceus because I didn't want it sitting around for a while. Also, important to note, Susato's back. That's a pretty thing, big thing. Shouldn't gloss over that. Susato's fucking back, and she's better than ever. I assume she's better than ever. I don't know if that's possible because she's already the best. Oh, this room, it's been too long. Hasn't changed the slightest though, and it's been some 6 months, hasn't it? That's a long time for things to say so familiar. I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you'd left it. But it's been some 6 months, it's true. So, is your father alright, Susie? What happened? He's a liar. He's alright, but he's a liar. He was alright until I got home, and then I fucked him up. Yeah, Professor Mikataba, I mean, it was half a year ago, but that's why he went back to Japan. Because of the telegram you received saying he'd fall ill with a very high fever for some unknown reason. Yeah, but they told you in the letter that it was fake, right? That's right. I was so surprised to hear you coming back so soon. Surprised, but happy. I figured I wouldn't ping it. You know, I don't want to abuse the content pings. I think I wrote about it in my letter to you. That it was all a trick. My father is in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved about that. Well, we're all delighted to have you back. It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. It's because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium. The International Forensic? That's the same symposium Lord Strongheart mentioned. Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and all that matters is that I'm here now. Is that all that matters? I mean, it is a big thing, but is it all that matters? After all, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Ew! You must tell us everything that happened while you were back in Japan. Didn't she already do that? Yes, of course I shall. And there's one other thing. Something you wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About you-know-who. About Kazuma. I know. I'll tell you all that I can. Ryu's dumb. Every ping roll. Anytime I write a message, I will ping to a roll. Good morning, everybody, at everyone. When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, the father's mood changed entirely. The awful trial? Oh yeah, for the murder of Josiah Brett. Oh, you dressed as a man then, didn't you, Susie? Oh, well, yes. Since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing. I wish I'd seen it. Don't you, Runo? Yes, I suppose so. I want to play being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe. I don't think any mustache could hide the fact that you're just 10 years old, Iris. There's something else I've been wanting to ask you, Miss Susato. It's about the real reason why Professor Mikataba summoned you back to Japan. You said in your letter it was something to do with that convict's loot we found in Mr. Nitsume's lodgings. That's right. The very large dog collar we found with the B emblem on it. Mr. Nitsume included a drawing of the collar in the report he submitted about his time in Britain. The B clearly stood for Britain. It was Britain's dog. I understand that when Father saw the report, he turned as white as a sheet. Why would that be then? Because he's actually a ghost! Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. What do you want? Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know. What do you want? Fuck you, Pokemon Go. But if you refuse to tell me where he was, then I intend to find the answers for myself. And I've decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. Oh, Susie. That's a very meaningful look Susato-san's giving Iris there. Pokemon, go away! Pokemon, get the fuck out of here! Lord Strongheart mentioned something about that symposium, too. I think he said investigative authorities from 40 different countries would attend. Yes, and from Japan, my father and Judge Chikogu have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe. Well, Professor Mikataba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country, after all. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say? Come on, you know Judge Jigoku. Pokemon Go, Mario Run, Kirby, he's coming. Yes, His Excellency, Judge Seshiro Gijoku. You've met him, Mr. Naruhodo, last year in the Supreme Court. You can't possibly have forgotten. That terrible trial of yours when you were accused of murder. Yeah, I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days. Well, it was Judge Chikogu that presided over that trial. If I'm perfectly honest, I'd be happy never to see that man's face again in my life. Oh, well, anyway, as Father was invited to the symposium, he agreed to me returning to Britain too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him, and in the end he agreed on me going ahead. Yeah, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strongheart has put in an awful lot of work to make it happen. It's obviously very important. I believe it is, yes. As I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. He got the streamers, he got the birthday cake, he got the whole shebang. I think he's hoping that by achieving exceptional results, he'll get the job of Attorney General. The most senior position in the British justice system. He's hoping to use his power to create the world's finest policing institution. That's what Father said anyway. Apparently, it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition. A lifelong ambition of a really aggressive big dude? Oh, no. Does Professor Mikataba know Lord Strongheart personally, then I wonder? Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me a long speech all about this very subject only yesterday. But I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't really listen to much of it. How trying for you. Josiah Brett. The woman whose unforgivable actions ended in me being wrongly accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. Oh, speaking of John H. Wilson, gonna bring that up right now? Yes, Josiah Brett. That's a name I won't forget for as long as I live. The extraordinary thing is, though, it seems it's a name we should all forget. Sorry? Since the incident, our government's intelligence services have been investigating Miss Brett. But it turns out that an Englishwoman by the name of Josiah Brett didn't actually exist. Didn't exist? But how can that be? It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin. And she wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front. A front? Who on earth was the back then? Miss A. Shin. Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to ascertain about her. Nobody knows why or even how she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery. But that makes no sense. It's no easy test to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. What could the woman have been up to? I'm afraid I really don't know. The only thing we can be sure of is that Iris's dad is fucking dead. Is her name Ashashin? Ashashin? As if she had some business in our country that we don't yet understand. And now she's been killed. While all the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. I'm afraid so. A Shin. Who on earth was she? And why do I feel as though I've heard that name before somewhere? Hey, what about Kazuma? After my friend Ray's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange.
I know the truth. I knew you had a hand in what went on in that visiting student's fate. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. But they don't know that guy never made it in England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never...
Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. But later, I visited the man in his prison cell and asked him what he was going to say about Kazuma-sama.
And what did you learn?
After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unladen at the port of Hong Kong and passed into the care of the consulate staff there.
Should have been?
Well, it turns out that his body never arrived. It just disappeared.
What? Kazuma's body vanished?
Our government tried to cover the fact up, it seems. They elected a grave on the cliffs by our hometown. Except Kazuma-sama isn't there.
Did Professor Mikataba know about this?
Yes, it would seem that he did. But he didn't tell me. They're still investigating what happened to Kazuma-sama's body as we speak.
I just don't believe it.
And what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden?
Thinking back now, some of the things that happened on the SS Buria were definitely strange.
I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? Could it be? Could it be that he's actually still alive? Stop it, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too much to bear.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to...
Just thinking about the possibility pains me. So very much, because I fucking hated him. I wanted to be dead as hell. Cast your mind back for a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. When Kazuma-sama was discovered, Mr. Sholmes was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he's an idiot.
And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly.
Ah, you're right. Okay, but he's an idiot. So if Kazuma-sama hadn't actually been dead at all, it would mean that Mr. Sholmes had lied to us.
But there's no reason why he would possibly have done such a thing.
I suppose that's true, yes. I don't know, Sholmes has been in the business of keeping shit from us, I'd say.
The idea that he might still be alive somewhere. He wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it. Because if it turned out not to be true, then I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might do to me.
Oh, Miss Suzato. I know she's given the idea the thought it deserves. It's Suzato-san we're talking about, after all. Of course he'd have to lie to have some fun on a boring boat. So I probably shouldn't push it now. Alright, we got some fucking exploring to do. We can't move, though. Do you want to see, You want to see something? I don't know, you want to see this? About this paper, Miss Suzato.
Yes, it's all about the great exhibition. I've been dreaming about it, you know?
I was sorry that you were going to miss it when you were called back to Japan. Show her your badge. True. Yeah.
So was I. I feel desperately unlucky. But here I am, back in London while it's underway. It's a dream come true.
Perhaps you're not as unlucky as you thought, then.
Once we've helped Professor Hairbrain out of this terrible situation, we should all explore it together. And of course, we must invite the Professor's good friend, Lord Van Seeks, as well.
Your luck might not stretch that far.
You're still taking good care of that art band, I see. I'm so pleased.
Well, yeah, it feels like I wouldn't be me without it now, to be honest.
Oh dear, there seems to be a thread coming loose just there, look. I'd be only too happy to mend it for you, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, thank you. I must have scraped it against something again. I'm always doing that.
Then take better care of it, please.
It was all going so well until I ruined it. Alright, We don't have any more dialogue, do we? Kazuma gave that to you. He sure did. You have water gently boiling on the stove, I see. It feels wrong somehow if I can't hear the water bubbling away. And we have plenty of logs. It's not like we have to worry about paying for gas. It's important to open the window for fresh air when the fire's burning, though. You can't keep it closed just because it's cold outside. It could be a matter of life and death. Avoiding the freezing winter air is a matter of life and death, too, if you ask me. Oh well. Perhaps a nice cup of tea will warm you up later. Hey, Iris. It must be about a year now. I wrote a really long story based on some of my father's old notes. It's about one of Early's greatest exploits. I called it The Hound of the Baskervilles. But then Mr. Sholmes forbade you from publishing it, and put the manuscript somewhere nobody could get their hands on it. So nobody knows anything about it apart from Early and I. But for some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie? True. Naruhodo's fucking not skipping arm day. Oh, it sounds so exciting, The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it. And you wouldn't tell me how you'd come to know it. Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day, didn't I? I think it's time. Oh! I'm only sorry I've had to keep it from you for so long, Iris. The truth come out? It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript, Iris. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study and I saw something on his writing desk. A large box of papers. There was a label affixed to the box that I was written in English. It read, The Hound of the Baskervilles. What? My Baskerville story? Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time, but Father came in and...
Susato, what are you doing?
Oh, Father.
Did you look at those papers?
No, I simply read the label, that's all.
Well, put it out for you if you mind.
Sorry?
Forget that you ever saw it, and certainly don't tell anyone else about this. Do you understand? You must never, ever recollect this memory of us talking. I don't want to be in any flashbacks, Susato! You better not do it! No flashbacks! A flashback will kill me!
Oh, he's dead now. But what was Iris's manuscript doing in Japan? Come on and slam. Take your manuscript to Japan. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, the title just slipped out. I would never have guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Mr. Sholmes' exploits. When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer any of my questions, and there was no sign of the big box in his office. That's really all I know about it. I've no doubt that Father has a very good reason for being so secretive about it, but still... I made up my mind to explain myself to both of you. Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm ready to start investigating if you are. I've committed every detail about the case to memory. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Waxwork Museum as well. So you're fully abreast of the situation already, Mrs. Otto. I'd expect nothing less, to be honest. I would think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Drebber, the engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine that was used to effect this extraordinary trick. Yes, a conjurer of sorts by the sound of it, well known in the fields of science and magic. So he's a spell slinger. We need to go and arrest him. Well, yeah, he must know the truth behind this case, so I agree we really do need to find the man. It sounds like it's a case of tracking someone down. Which is a job for the police, or a great detective. Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think. I think she's talking about, what's his name? Inspector Gregson? Good idea. Well, best of luck then. Oh, you're not coming today? I'm going to Brixton Road shortly for the air market. But let me know later how you got on, won't you? I believe in Gregson. True.
That was the little breath. The pull of the herb market must be strong. Dude, the pull of those herbs are strong, alright. Let me tell you, who is someone who has never partaken and has no fucking idea. Drug moment. That's a Pogger's drug moment. Hey, buddy? Hey, buddy! Hey, buddy, they gotta wash those walls, I think. Bro. Broseph. My dude's doing two-dimensional kinematics. What's he doing? Two-dimensional kinematics. He's... Oh my, the whole wall of the cell is covered in mathematical equations. And he's still writing more now. Professor, sorry to interrupt.
Mr. Naruhodo. And who is this young lady?
My name is Suzata Mikotaba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor.
I've never spoken to a woman before. Ow, if only I'd meet a refined young woman like you sooner.
And none of this would have happened.
No, that's not logical. That makes no sense at all.
Oh, no, dear, I'm sorry if my presence here upsets you.
I owe you an apology too, Professor. I didn't manage to deliver what I promised you I would in court this morning.
Oh no. The whole thing, the whole miserable affair, it all happened because I'm in such a complete and utter clot.
Professor Hairbrain? Do you have a clot in your brain? What have you been working on in your cell? You mean that? Oh dear, how embarrassing.
I was suddenly struck by an idea, you see. I simply had to write it down. The wall was all I had to hand.
Where'd you get the fucking chalk, bro? Oh, is it some new hypothesis? Something to surpass super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, maybe?
No, actually, this is my autobiography.
No? That's not book?
Your autobiography?
How I Was Diddled and Fiddled by Albert Hairbrain. I found I can represent my own fortunes with only odd numbers and an ambitious set of simultaneous equations.
Really?
I'm going to have to pay back all the loans I took for the kinesis machine, you see. So it's going to be a new serial publication from next month, part 1, an odd birth and odd upbringing.
You can't beat the man's optimism, that's for sure. I see. Well, for now, would you mind if we talked a little more about the case?
Oh, yes, of course. I've been working through the numbers. I was diddled, I was fiddled by the pair of them. By Asmin and by that aloof engineer Drebber.
We're not going to have to sit through an explanation of all these equations, are we? I want the first conversation to be a long explanation of all these equations. He's been fiddled, he's been diddled by the pair of them. You heard it here first, folks. Hairbrain's been fiddled and diddled.
Everything I believed in has been turned on its head. My research, Mr. Asmin, the kinesis machine, my hypothesis even.
I'm sorry it's come to this. There was really no other way.
No, it's not your fault. I wanted to protect my work, but in the end, there was nothing worth protecting.
Well, don't say that.
It was never my intention to deceive anyone. I didn't want to trick the public.
No, of course you didn't.
But in court this morning, I realized something.
Oh?
If you've done something wrong without knowing it, you've still done something wrong. Logically, it makes no difference if you're aware of it or not. Ignorance is a poor excuse. The blame still lies with me.
Oh, Professor.
Hairbrain's a real one. That's pretty good. That's pretty good shit. Good shit, man.
He believed in me this morning, you know. Barak did. He believed in my hypothesis.
Well, I think that was just a necessary factor in the prosecution established against case.
No, Barak wouldn't do something like that. I'm sure he genuinely believed it.
Did he?
I think I understand now. Why it was that he decided to take on the prosecution in my trial, I mean. After the terrible accident happened, nobody would believe in my hypothesis anymore. Not the police, not the prosecution service, not any lawyers even.
I feel like I dealt with some kind of finishing blow there.
So if any other prosecutor had taken the case, if it was anyone other than Barak,
I'm sure the prosecution would have declared my hypothesis a complete and utter nonsense. And in that case, you would have been declared a fraud yourself, Professor.
Exactly, which would have been a fate worse than death for me. But Barak insisted that I was a proper man of science from the start to finish.
You think that's why he...
I know him very well indeed. Biblically, one might say, he's an extremely kind-hearted soul.
But that extremely kind-hearted soul spent all morning trying to paint you as a murderer, didn't he?
Well, admittedly, that part of the analysis appears to have some flaws in it.
And what about the whole Reaper side of things? How does that fit in with the kind-hearted soul idea? Mr. Assman.
Do you think he set out to trick me from the very start?
I'm sorry to say, that does seem likely, yes.
When I first met him, he introduced himself as a wealthy financier. He looked over the paper I'd written and said my work would benefit all humanity and must be pursued. He was so enthused, he was so empathetic. Emphatic, I mean.
But in reality, he was the mastermind of some vast criminal network, it seems.
I still can't believe it.
As the machine was essentially a set decoration for some stage magic, it probably didn't require a large amount of investment, actually.
But the scale of it wasn't just some small trick. It was a very elaborate feat of deception.
All young scientists are full of hope about their burgeoning ideas, full of zeal. Also full of cum. We're all full of cum. But none of us have any money. We want to do research, but we can't afford it. Many of us take on barely legal part-time work to try and earn just a few measly pennies to carry on. To get through all of that, only to be taken for a complete fool! It's too rotten to believe.
It is, I agree. And that's why we have to find those responsible and bring them to justice. Mr. Asman is no more, of course, which leaves us only the engineer. Mr. Enoch Drebber. Drebber the engineer. Is he an engineer or a magician or a swindler?
It is about a year ago that Mr. Asman first brought Drebber to meet me in my laboratory. Since then, I've had him many times to discuss details with the kinesis machine.
But at no point did you have any inkling that he was just an illusionist?
Oh, he definitely wasn't just an illusionist.
What do you mean?
He was a wealth of deep scientific knowledge. There's no question that the man's a genuine scientist. It's instantly apparent in conversation.
I see.
But the wretched man deceived you, Professor. It's unforgivable. We must do everything we can to find him and bring him to justice. Are there any clues that you can give us as to his whereabouts?
I'm sorry, we only ever discussed the kinesis machine, nothing else. Although, just once, I did visit his workshop.
What workshop?
Drebber's enormous fabrication laboratory where he constructed my great machine.
Could you tell us where that is? Why didn't you mention this before? Enoch Drebber's workshop. There's every chance we might find the man there. So you've been to Drebber's place of work then?
Yes, just once, you understand. It was an enormous place, plenty of room to construct the kinesis machine, you see.
Where can we find it? We have to go there at once. There's a good chance we'll find Drebber there.
Well, yes, definitely. I'm sure, as in, I'm sure you're not going to want to hear this. But I have absolutely no idea where the workshop is at all. I'm so sorry!
I was more than half expecting that.
You see, I was blindfolded in the carriage the entire way there.
He blindfolded you? He wasn't taking any chances then.
The place was incredible, the pinnacle of modern engineering. Even the oil he used was very best, a special French machine oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Ah, the indescribable scent of that imported oil. Perfumers across the world should forget the secret formula and use that instead.
Yeah, that would make all women extremely attractive to you and you alone, buddy. What do you think, Mr. Zato? Ode a machine for your next birthday?
I've never used any kind of perfume, Mr. Naruhodo, and I'm not sure I'd like to start with that. I don't suppose you know even part of the workshop's address, Professor. You don't have a business card for Mr. Drebber, for example?
The man was clearly very cautious, Mr. Zato. I'm sure he would never have.
Aha! Yes, I do! He gave me his business card once. It's right here. Look!
Let me see that.
Throw etiquette at the wind, why don't you?
Enoch Dreba, engineer. I'm afraid that's all it says. There's no address.
No. Oh well, can't say I'm surprised.
Still, this could be useful.
Let's take a look at that real quick, if you don't mind. What's this on the back here? Stark smudge here.
I think perhaps it's machine oil.
Yes, possibly. Professor Harebrant mentioned something about the oil Mr. Drebber used, didn't he? He said it was specially imported, very high quality oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Huh! That seems like it might be relevant. That's more fragrant than the finest perfume. So excuse me a moment. She's sniffing it.
Oh, it doesn't appear to have any scent at all.
Don't worry, I expect that's just because there's such a tiny amount on here. Do we have anything we could present to him? No. Okay. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Ah, puppy!
I had no idea there were so many people in the world.
I know what you mean. It's really packed here today.
I feel as though it's taken us 2 hours just to make our way through the crowds to this point.
Has it? I shut my brain off so I didn't really notice, to be honest.
Gosh, I do wish I had your absence of mind sometimes, Mr. Naruhodo.
There you are. I had a feeling you'll all show up in your mugs before long.
Oh, wrong voice. Oh, Inspector Gregson, I see you're hard at work as usual.
Well, I'm greetings to you. I do hope you've been keeping well since we last met.
What's with all the ceremony? We just saw each other in court this morning. Not you, dipshit.
Not you, sunshine. The gentlewoman so loyally at your side.
Oh. Why, thank you, Inspector. How good of you to notice.
Might be a bit rough around the edges, but he's still a proper English gentleman at heart, I suppose. As you probably guessed, we were hoping to investigate the scene some more.
Right. Well, that's the young trainee's domain. Alright, get over here, Jaina!
She looks a bit busy. I don't blame her. I'd rather play with that puppy. She seems busy playing with a puppy. Probably giving her traditional East End training. She's teaching that doggy how to crime!
Gina, she's a police officer now.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, she's a good kid, actually. That's in the right place, anyway. She's got the detection bug, if you ask me. Hey, yep, I think she'll follow my footsteps nicely.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, her feet are smaller than mine, so if she walks directly behind me, she can fit directly in my footsteps. I'm being transferred. It's time for me to say toodaloo to London. No! Gregson! I'm gonna miss you so much!
Oh no, really?
That's a bit sudden, isn't it? I had no idea. Where are you gonna be posted then? We'll come to see how you're getting along.
Not likely. But you're welcome to try. If you don't mind a trip to France, that is.
To France? God, hell no! See you later, gamer! Bye forever!
I'll be walking to the Palace Police Prefecture. Should be right up my alley.
I don't think it will be. But France is an entirely different country. I don't understand. Why would you be sent there?
That's the way the adult works, sunshine. You don't go poking your nose where it's not wanted.
He's running out of fish and chips and the police force don't want him after he's out. He'll unleash hell wherever he is.
Well, I'm intending to take the kid with me when I go.
What? You're taking Gina to Paris?
Well, I can't leave her here in London. Who knows what'd become of that?
I suppose he's worried she slipped back into slipping her hands in people's pockets and purses.
I don't think he's worried about her pickpocketing, Mr. Naruhodo. I think he's worried about the Reaper.
Oh, of course. So that's playing on Inspector Gregson's mind too, is it?
Anyway, I'll mention any of this to Gina. She don't go blabbing, you hear me?
No, of course not.
I'm gonna keep that diving diva safe and sound. Until all this is over, at least.
Oi, did you just call me a bloomin' diving diva again?
Yeah, so you heard that, did you? Alright, well, any questions about the scene, you can put them to my capable detective diva here.
Alright, you had the boss. Inspector Lestrade's in charge here now.
I suppose I'd better keep my word and not mention anything about Paris. So, Gina, you got a new dog, have you? Also, what do you think of Paris? Paris is cool. Dog!
Ain't he great? Toby's his name. Oh, how delightful. He's absolutely adorable.
You think Toby and Wagahai get on? Dog! Yes, the dog does seem lovely. But it's the not so lovely Inspector Gregson that he's playing on my mind, to be honest. Show me more dog. Show me Toby the dog. Oh, she did name him after Tobias Gregson. Oh my god, you're right. That's adorable. Gina, we were actually hoping that we could investigate the scene again.
Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like.
Oh, that's alright, is it? Toby.
I'll be playing with my new friend here.
Yes, Toby.
The machine that exploded must be at the top of these stairs, I presume. I haven't actually seen it yet, so if you don't mind...
Sorry, you can't go up there, Suze.
Oh. Hey, it's like I told Otto yesterday. Even I ain't allowed near that wreck. Yeah, what's it called again? The reason we ain't supposed to touch it? The Special
Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah, that's the one. That's why only I'm Lotto around to investigate it. Yeah, what are they called again? The Forensic of something?
The Forensic Investigation Team? Is that what you were thinking of?
That's the one, yeah. But isn't it the case that the special dispensation has been lifted? Oh, I think so. I don't really get it, but to be truthful with you, you're just supposed to get permission from some bigwig or other as far as I know. What was his name again? Lord Strange something. I'm not sure that's quite right, Gina. I think you mean Lord Strongheart, perhaps? Oh, that's the one, yeah. Apparently he's always watching the time or something.
So without Lord Strongheart's express permission, we can't investigate on the stage.
It was great, weren't I? Oh, I had a right laugh. There was a new one on me on that. You know, being in court and not spending the whole time worrying about I'm about to be found out. You did keep an awful lot of secrets in all your previous court appearances, didn't you? Yeah, and Otto's made things out for me every single time and all.
Just doing my job, Gina.
Watching someone else get the neck is a lot of fun, actually. Yeah, it was amazing when you showed that dodgy professor's dodgy experiment was a total fix. The dodgy professor, as you put it, Gina, is Mr. Naruhodo's client.
Yes, I'm starting to wish he wasn't, though. He's been cool.
It's the boss I feel sorry for, sent off to do the impossible.
What do you mean?
He's supposed to arrest that other cove, ain't he? Ain't time for tomorrow and all. You know, the dodgy engineer, what's his name again?
Mr. Drebber, you mean? Enoch Drebber?
Well, that's the one, yeah.
So the police are looking for this mysterious man with the black monocle. I guess they would be.
He's putting too much on the boss, if you ask me. He says it's giving him a gut ache.
I think that might be the fish and chips.
Oh dear, but I do wonder if that isn't actually from all the fried food.
God damn it. Fuck me. The guard in the back doesn't have permission to have eyes, true. So Scotland Yard are trying to track down Mr. Enoch Drebber. I wonder if they've had any luck.
He's really funny looking, got two eyes what don't match. I stole a glimpse of a picture of him earlier. Oh man, I didn't actually pinch it or nothing. Yeah, the old devil's got it.
Sorry, who?
Hey, you know, that Scotland Reaper what's always glugging down glasses of that blood-red plonk.
Ah, Lord Van Zeeks.
He's always at it in for me, that cove. Don't always scowling about mind. Yeah, probably would have been a pretty good boss as it goes.
She'd rather be the Reaper's apprentice than a detective's trainee? The way I see it, if the choice is between a chip-guzzling detective and a chalice-glugging demigod, you're equally badly off with both.
I suppose you're right. I hadn't thought of it like that.
Glad we put that one to bed.
Anyway, the point is, everyone at the yard's dead set on finding the fishing engineer. And more importantly, the more important point is, I got a dog! There don't seem to be no clues to go on, so they're stuck.
There's nothing that can lead us to Drebber at all? Where'd you find that little mutt then, Gina?
Oi, don't be so flaming rude, Otto!
Slight overreaction, don't you think? Nah, fuck you. Don't call it a mutt.
He ain't no more, right? Toby's, how do they put it? Oh yeah, a bona fide detective.
Sorry?
I'll give you a proper title on everything. It's Chief Inspector Toby to you.
More senior than Inspector Gregson, is he?
Ooh, so he's a police dog, is he?
The police recruit dogs now? The police recruit dogs now?
I've heard that they've already been used officially in Germany as part of their city policing. They're used for chasing criminals and such like. They have a wonderful sense of smell, after all.
Sense of smell? Dogs? Wait, hold on. I know a little something that should be smell. I have a fairly good sense of smell myself as it happens. I can tell undergarments that have been freshly laundered from undergarments that haven't. You done it again. You done it again.
That's nothing compared to this little fella, Otto.
Oh, really?
According to what the boss said. Once Toby has got a cool whiff of your drawers, he could chase that scent to the other side of the world.
What? To the other side of the world? You mean he can swim?
Mr. Naruhodo, I think you may have missed the point by rather a wide margin.
I just can't believe this little dog has such an incredible skill.
I'm telling you, Otto, there's gonna be more dogs doing their bit for the police in the future.
He woof!
He woof! Yes, I agree. Right, one of these days they'll be barking orders at us a lot, not the other way around.
Oh, go make me a sandwich!
Oh dear, sorry Gina, I don't think I agree with your vision quite that much. Well, anyway, whatever you think about that, Toby is Britain's first police dog. I found him down in the East End the other day. I checked him out on the street.
No! Don't say this to me! There you go. I knew she'd lift him from somewhere.
Oh, Gina, you're such a kind-hearted soul, aren't you? To children and to animals.
Alright, hey, Toby, I got your first mission for you. Please sniff, sniff.
About this, Gina. Yeah, I'm learning me letters at the moment. I only know A to E, so if it ain't too much bleeding trouble. Actually, Gina, it's the back of the card that's important. How come? It's just a dirty old smudge on the back, that's all. Turns out that this is very high quality French machine oil. It has a very particular scent, apparently.
You don't say. Let's have a whiff, then.
You sure? I don't smell nothing.
No, we didn't mean that you should smell it.
Oh, right. You mean Toby.
His sense of smell is so good he can track people over the oceans, can he?
Professor Hebron informs us this oil is unique to Mr. Drebber's workshop.
Toby! 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 Sniff, 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 sniff. I think he's picked up a scent.
So you mean, if he follows the scent of this oil, Toby could lead us to that dodgy guy's workshop? That's right. That's exactly what we were hoping. Alright then, we'll give it a go. I'll just borrow that.
Wait, where did you... Ah, wants a pickpocket.
If I can lead everyone to that Drebber's workshop, I'll be the boss's boss before next week. Oh yes, Gina. I'm sure you'll be promoted.
Poor Gregson. Alright. Well, enjoy that. Do you have anything else to say to me? Seems like no. Okay, in that case, let's go talk to Strongheart. Oh, what the f- hello? Who dis? Oh, who's that sitting beside Lord Strongheart?
I wonder. I've never seen her before.
Hi, Mom. No, Cabelliot, that sucks. That's a mood, though.
Ah, the young champion.
Wait, what's this? He's Obama, right?
Ah, the young champion of the court. You had some success this morning, I understand. And you've thrown the entire government into disarray as a result.
Oh, you mean because of Professor Harebrain's experiment?
Sham science being demonstrated at London's Great Exhibition. The country's been made to look foolish, and now politicians are scrambling to respond.
I've only had Toby for 5 minutes. Yeah, I'd kill all of you.
Lord Van Zeeks is in Whitehall as we speak, giving an emergency briefing.
Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause any trouble.
Ah, none of this is your responsibility. The government is entirely to blame for having been taken in. The special dispensation that prevents the investigation of the scene will be annulled later today. Once that happens, my forensic investigation team will move in and deal with that scrap metal in no time.
Scrap metal now, is it?
Until later then, Lord Strongheart.
Yes, thank you.
You want to introduce me to the fine lady? No? Okay.
Who was that?
I'm gonna hit you with my cane now, Naruhodo. That was Dr. Courtney Scythe, Scotland Yard's esteemed chief coroner. She's leading the forensic investigation team handling of this case. She was just delivering a report about the victim, in fact.
Oh, I see. About Mr. Asmund.
Following the outcome of the trial earlier, I asked the coroner's office to reevaluate its findings.
Bitch looks like an arcane character. She does!
I don't have time to tell you what she concluded. If you want to know, you'll have to ask her directly. You can find her in the forensics laboratory.
Right.
Now, what were you here to see me about? Well, I can give you 7 minutes and 39 seconds of my time.
So he's not running quite so spectacularly late anymore. What exactly is the forensic investigation team that you mentioned before?
I'm gonna hit you with my cane because that means you did not listen to me yesterday.
She's got a name and had a text box with her name. True.
The British Empire's police force must become the most exemplary in the world. For that to happen, it's imperative that we embrace forensic science and everything it has to offer. I first created the forensic investigation team a year ago now, unofficially of course, to pave the way.
Goodness, a year ago?
At next month's symposium, I intend to present the results of their work to the world. Once I do that, the House of Lords will be powerless to oppose the creation of a full-scale forensics division. And once that happens, the position of Attorney General will be mine, and criminals will suffer dearly.
What do you mean?
For too long, those scoundrels have made a mockery of our legal system with false evidence and bribes. But London scum are about to be rounded up and burned in the fires of hell.
Whoa, okay.
I intend to see to it personally. By creating the finest police force the world has ever known to protect our honor and our future.
Look at those eyes. He means every word.
Dr. Scythe is an extremely reliable coroner. When I officially establish the forensics division at Scotland Yard, she will run it as my right-hand woman. Now then, speaking of the symposium, Miss Mikataba.
Oh, yes, my lord.
Your father should be on the high seas as we speak, making his way here to represent the Empire of Japan.
Seriously, absolutely a final arc villain.
Yes, that's right. I understand he will arrive beginning of next month.
Are you acquainted, Lord Strongheart? With Professor Mikataba, I mean.
It was many years ago now, but, yes. I remember Dr. Mikataba very well. If my memory serves, it was some 15 years ago now that your father came to Britain as a visiting student.
It was the year I was born, so yes, 16 years ago now, in fact.
Don't you fucking doubt my timekeeping skills! Mikataba was a very young practitioner of forensic science, and Jugo accompanied him as a young, promising judge. Oh
my, holy fuck. One sec. One sec, this one's gonna take some doing. Alright, here we go. I'm gonna do it in one.
The punctiliousness and politeness of the Japanese at the time impressed us greatly. Not that I wish to imply impoliteness or carelessness on your part in any way.
I didn't think that you were.
Dr. Mikataba studied forensics at one of London's large hospitals. Saint Sinners?
What the fuck kind of name is Sinner?
Dr. Scythe was also there then as it happened.
Then Dr. Scythe knows my father, does she?
She was a young medical assistant at the time, so I doubt their paths crossed regularly. But I've no doubt that they knew each other superficially. After all, Dr. Mikataba was here studying his subject for some 6 years in total.
6 years, that's a long time to be studying abroad, isn't it?
That was my grandmother this years.
So he left his newly born daughter behind and went overseas for 6 whole years? Wow, good dad.
It was a rather turbulent time at home.
Oh.
Perhaps father wanted a reason to get away.
What do you mean? Why? Well, clearly something was going on at the time. I want to ask you about Lord Van Zieks, actually. I heard that his older brother was killed some years ago by a mass murderer known as the Professor, who targeted nobles and royalty. Is that right?
You Japanese are a thorough lot. You've done your research well. Yes. And you could say it was that very incident, that gave rise to the Reaper.
What? Why?
When his brother, Clint Van Zieks, was murdered. It was just after young Barrack had graduated from the University of London and become a prosecutor. When obvious criminals who managed to evade convictions in court started disappearing, rumors quickly spread throughout the capital. Londoners started to say that wherever Barrack Von Zieks went, the ghost of his dead brother wasn't far behind.
Oh my word.
So, Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper. It's the ghost of his brother?
Ever since that time, he became a very aloof figure in London's legal circles.
You Japanese are a thorough lot! Oh yes, Lord Strongheart.
Go ahead.
It's about Professor Harebraine's experimental machine. We'd like your permission to examine the remains, if possible.
Are you well versed in science, then?
Not in the slightest. In fact, you could say I was barely aware of the subject at all until recently.
Well, the special dispensation legally preventing investigation of the machine is currently being annulled. Within a few hours, Dr. Scythe's team of forensic experts will begin their own investigation. But I suppose until then, there's no harm in you looking at the wreckage, as long as you touch nothing.
Thank you! Being able to look at this is better than nothing.
And I'll be able to see it too.
Your time is up. You'll have to excuse me now, I'm afraid. My next engagement calls.
We are extremely sorry to have troubled you when you are so busy, my lord.
I have important matters to attend to in preparation for the symposium, you understand.
New location has been added. We'll get there in a sec.
Your time is up.
Prepare for execution.
It's punishment time! Oop, 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 oop.
Stage up there is where the experiment was set up. It's very high, isn't it?
About 30 feet, I believe. Or 9 meters, if you prefer.
Craning your neck to see up to it threats to hurt after a while, doesn't it? You go up there and look around properly. Though if I'm honest, climbing all those stairs makes my chest hurt.
Oh dear, I think perhaps you should exercise more, Mr. Naruhodo.
Damn. I'm fucking called out. Don't call me out. Okay, how do I go up there? Gina, we were actually hoping that we could investigate the scene again.
Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like.
Oh, that's alright, is it?
Toby!
I'll be playing with my new friend.
Ah, yes, Toby.
The machine that exploded must be at the top of those stairs, I presume. I haven't actually seen it yet, so if you don't mind.
No, but we told we could go there. That's the one. Toby's so good. Team Toby or Team Wagahai? Why do they have to be on teams? They can be friends.
Actually, we've just recently been to see Lord Strongheart.
Eh, you what? You met him? Oh, last time the boss was called to go and see him. He waited for 3 hours at the gift's office and came back sniveling. Tragic.
Well, Lord Strongheart has given us permission to examine the scene as long as we touch nothing.
Oh, yeah. Honestly. Alright then, go ahead. But if it turns out you're lying, it'll be the boss who gets it. He'll never eat another chip again in his life. So, you still saying all this is above board, are ya?
I'm sure everything will be fine.
That really would be tragic. Alright then, them's the stairs. Off you go.
Oh, thank you, Gina.
Dobby!
Right then, Otto, leave it to me. Sorry? We're gonna get going after that dodgy engineer cove right this minute. Oh, but hang on. Someone's supposed to be on guard duty all this time. Afraid we can't help. We need to get on with our investigation as well, Gina. Yeah, right. Oh well, never mind. It ain't gonna be me who gets it in the neck. It'll be the boss. Poor Gregson again. Ready, Toby? Got that oil snap, have ya? Come on then, boy. See you later.
I do hope the scent of that oil leads them to that swindler's workshop.
Yes, I hope so too. Ideally before the dog swims across the channel to France. Still can't. Gotta actually interact. Let's go and see what we can find out.
Oh my, so this is the machine that was used to deceive people into thinking instantaneous kinesis had taken place.
Yes, that's right. Or rather, it was the machine. It's a little worse for wear at the moment.
What extraordinary lengths Professor Harebrained went to in order to obtain the research grant.
No. The professor was tricked as well. He didn't know anything about it.
Yes, of course. It is amazing, though, isn't it? The scale of the whole affair is so very British.
You're right about that. You'd never see such a grand deception in Japan, that's for sure.
Oh, look, is that
Oh, hello.
Lord Van Zieks?
What are he doing up here? Did you get permission? So I think we're more or less done here, aren't we? Shall we, Mrs. Otto?
Already?
He is the Reaper, remember? We do well to keep our distance, I think.
But we have permission to be here, from the top. We're perfectly well allowed to investigate this machine, as long as we don't touch anything.
From the top? Do you mean Lord Strongheart?
Exactly. So we can stay here and stare at this wreckage for as long as we like.
She could have been at the center of the explosion here and it wouldn't have been her steel will. Least approachable man in the world winner 10 years in a row.
Be strong, Mr. Naruhodo. Your country and your assistants stand firmly behind you.
Lord Van Zieks.
What?
Well, beautiful weather we're having, isn't it?
I thought I was making it quite clear that I didn't want to be disturbed. Apparently you Nipponese are unequipped to read the signs.
Oh, I read them.
So, what are you doing here? Entry to this area is prohibited.
Well, the thing is...
Lord Chief Justice Strongheart granted us permission to investigate, on the condition that we didn't disturb anything.
And yet you've managed to disturb me. Never mind. State your business then.
Come to think of it, there are quite a few things I'd like to ask Lord Van Zieks about. Not the least of which is that awful case, even though it's nothing to do with this. Ask away, Mr. Naruhodo. You want on unless you try. So, Clint was the name of your older brother, I understand. Lord Van Zieks?
You Nipponese, I always have to be on guard whenever you're around. So you've been investigating me, have you?
Oh, no, it's not like that. Well, alright, it is a bit like that.
My older brother was also a prosecutor. He was the pride of the Van Zieks family. But tragically, a vicious killer took him from us.
The professor, you mean? Is something funny?
That's the extent of what you've discovered, is it? I shouldn't be surprised.
Sorry, there's more to it then.
Lackluster work is very much your trademark, isn't it?
Ugh, you're too kind. Are you gonna tar all Nipponese with the same brush next?
So tell me, what's your interest in that historic incident?
As it happens, Lord Van Zieks, there's a rather curious case that's come to our attention.
The more relevant it is.
You were of the Madame Tuspel's Museum of Waxburg, by any chance?
I am, naturally. I believe that since last month I feature in one of the displays there, for public scorn.
Of course the infamous Reaper of the Bailey would have to be exhibited, wouldn't he?
Well, a particular waxwork has been stolen from the place, and held for ransom.
A particular waxwork, which... Wait, you mean...
Yes, it's the professor. Mr. Shelms is investigating the case as we speak. 100% OJ Battle Royale? I missed that. Or maybe I didn't, but I don't remember it. Oh, the 80 characters on Clover? I remember that. From it was like April Fool's a few years ago, I think. I was unaware of that. He's turned as white as a sheet. Last year? Okay. Time is hard, dude. It's been a couple years, man. Time's hard. At least trying to locate the engineer, Mr. Jebber, already?
Surely that goes without saying.
We're very keen on it to see him found as well. The trouble is we don't have much to go on aside from that description of the man we heard in court earlier.
What you guys, Professor Herb,
Was of a tall, thin gentleman who has straight white hair and wears a black monocle.
So I was just wondering, I mean, I realize it's probably not possible, but...
We'd very much appreciate any clues you can give us.
Wow, Suzato-san really knows how to take the bull by the horns. Suzato-san could take my bull by the horns, if you know what I'm saying.
Fine, why not? I have a photograph of the man here from an investigation 10 years ago. Thought it appears he already had that black monocle at the time. What?
Oh, no, nothing. I was just surprised that you shared that with us.
We all need the man's testimony in court tomorrow, which means we have to do everything we possibly can to track him down in the short time available. So why wouldn't I show you the photograph?
What is it about Lord Van Zieks? What do you mean, what is it about him? He's hot. There's that. Sometimes just can't work him out at all.
Oh, yo, what up? Ah, the file I requested for the trial tomorrow. Oh, thank you.
Are you alright?
Who is this man, Mr. Naruhodo?
Lord Van Zieks' apprentice, apparently. So I'm not the only one. Suzato-san can see it too.
Lord Van Zieks? May we speak with your apprentice for a moment?
With him? Why?
Kazuma-sama!
Kazuma?
I don't believe it.
Your posture, your presence. It can only be... It's you, isn't it, Kazuma-sama?
I felt something strange the very first time I encountered this cloaked figure. As if I knew him somehow. Can it really be you, Kazuma? Wait! Too late.
What's going on here? What is your interest in my apprentice exactly? You act as if you know the man or something.
Since when has he been in your care? I don't recall you having an apprentice before I left Britain 6 months ago.
Lord Strongheart introduced him to me about 3 months ago now, with instructions to mentor him as a prosecutor.
But he didn't tell you why, did he?
The man appears to be suffering from amnesia. He's forgotten every last detail about himself.
He has amnesia?
Tomorrow he will appear in court at my side.
What?
He's to serve as my judicial assistant, on Strongheart's orders.
He'll be in court with us?
Now then, unless I'm much mistaken, I believe this conversation has run its course.
Oh, yes, thank you. I definitely saw a reaction there. When Susato-san called out like that, it really seemed to hit a nerve. When she called out Kazuma-sama. Damn. Damn, alright. What a terrible explosion it must have been. Even the steel girders are buckled and twisted in the blast. And what they call the bird cage was right in the middle of it all, just here. But look, Mr. Naruhodo, the metal griddle on the floor. Looks as though it's designed to open. It does, doesn't it? The floor opened at the precise moment the explosion occurred. The birdcage could have dropped through and disappeared from sight. I don't think there's any doubt that this was a very elaborate hoax, is there? Look at that horn-shaped transmitting device. Isn't it amazing? That's exactly what I thought when I first saw it. Makes you think, doesn't it? If only it had just been a normal horn, none of this would have happened. That's almost exactly what I thought as well. I bet I can predict what you're going to say next in that case. You're about to say, nothing ever goes to plan, aren't you? Oh, no, I would never say something like that. Naruhodo and Susato finish each other's sandwiches. I should look at them, I just can't come to terms with those Tamari handballs floating in the sky. You've been glaring at them constantly since we came up here. Sorry, the feelings of wanting to ride in one and wanting never to set foot in one are fighting it out inside me. But if you don't look where you're walking, you might fall from the stage. I don't think I'd notice. That's how fiercely the battle inside me is raging. I think you should make peace with riding in one, Mr. Naruhodo. It really would be much safer that way. This wasn't here yesterday. Really? But if I'm not mistaken, it's the cage in which the victim was standing before he was apparently beamed through the air. That's right, the bird cage. According to what Professor Harebrine said in court, it's made of wood. Or more precisely, Japanese cypress, I think. And despite having been an explosion and then falling from a great height, it's relatively unharmed. What wonderfully durable construction, wouldn't you say, Mr. Naruhodo? I understood that the forensic investigation team had taken it away yesterday to investigate it. I suppose they must have brought it back here when they finished their work. But sadly not with the body inside of it. Sadly! Kazuma got knocked down, and he got up again, but without his memories at all. He got knocked down when he tripped over a cat. I know we were given strict instructions not to touch anything. This is too important of an evidence to overlook. We might need it for the trial. You'd already met that masked man, hadn't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, yesterday, in fact, at Lord Van Zeek's office. I see. And if Kazuma-sama really is still alive, it means that Mr. Sholmes lied to us. I know. We're gonna need to speak to him about that.
My dear boy! You're going to have to leave now. The forensic investigation team are due to arrive shortly. If they find you here, it will cause problems.
What sort of problems?
Sexy ones.
Well, we could do without that. Alright, we'll be on our way. Let's go, Mrs. Otto.
Of course.
I want to examine that bird cage. Oh, look here, Mrs. Otto. Oh, yes, the wood's cracked and broken a little. I suppose because it fell from such a height? Yes, from the height at which the balloon was flying down into the crystal tower below. About 30 feet or 9 meters.
Leave the man inside tragically dead.
Anything else here? No. Oh, this is a bit of a spooky lab. I guess you are a coroner, so that makes sense. I believe this is it, Dr. Sai's laboratory. That chemical smell really assaults the nose. And there's plenty to assault the eyes in here, too.
It looks as though the doctor isn't here. But we're here now, so we may as well do some sightseeing, don't you think?
What a seasoned tourist you've become, Mrs. Otto. We could just a little look around, being careful not to upset any restless souls. Look at all the bottles on the shelves in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals.
These ones here are labeled highly toxic.
That's worrying, because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there.
Oh yes, and they actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in this room, I suppose. Perhaps she has meals here sometimes.
Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death. She eats the dead bodies. That's what she uses the salt and pepper for. Gotta season them. You can't just have a corpse just like that. Table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it all looks quite innocent. So when you put them together side by side, they seem so horribly disturbing.
It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. Seeing the large tome that is open on the desk does make me wonder, though. How can any but concentrate on bookwork with this acrid odor of chemicals in the air?
You'd rather have a cast iron constitution or a really terrible sense of smell. Look at this big, thick book here. Hell yeah. Book dummy thick, though.
It appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team spending, I think.
Oh? What is it?
It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... well, one entry seems rather strange.
Really? In what way?
Like 500 scalpels every month!
500? That must be working really hard on dissecting corpses.
I don't know. Judicial autopsies are only carried out in certain special circumstances. Scalpel blades can be sharpened, too.
It does seem a bit strange, you're right. 500 scalpels a month. What could they possibly be using all those for? Her animation is going to be chucking a scalpel at you.
What are you doing? Ah.
Hello, Mommy. Sorry, we had something we wanted to ask you, but you weren't here, so we decided to look around your room.
So you thought you'd snoop around? That's acceptable to you people from the East, is it? Well, what do you want?
Lord Strongheart told us, you see, but I also see that you're a racist. That it was you who examined the victim's body. Mr. Asmund's body, I mean.
So we came to ask you about your findings, on Lord Strongheart's advice. Very well. If the Lord Chief Justice has given his consent, I'll tell you what our investigation revealed. But when we're done, you must leave immediately. So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined from its examination of the scene? The victim, Mr. Oti Asman, who disappeared from the experimentation stage amid an explosion, and the Mr. Asman who appeared moments later partway up the Crystal's tower, were without question one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion.
But that can't be right.
If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate about how it was carried out. Let's see, if two people who looked very similar to each other were involved, they could have made it appear as if one single person had switched places, couldn't they? Very true, but sadly in this instance, that was not the case. The man who disappeared and the man who subsequently reappeared was the same person.
How do you know that? You've never seen the person who disappeared.
The fingerprints at the scene make that quite evident.
Okay, alright, fair enough. Ah, fingerprints.
They're not yet officially recognized as forensic evidence in the British justice system. But one day they will be used as an investigative aid in matters of course. Oh my, but that would mean that the instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So where does that leave us?
I mean, no, wait, hold on. Hold the fuck on. No, that doesn't mean that at all. Literally, he could have touched the machine at any fucking point. He was working on it with Enoch Drebber. Of course he fucking touched the machine. That's bullshit, Scythe.
My team was tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions.
Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, and yet the body did move from one place to the other. It didn't! This hasn't cleared up anything at all. It's made the whole thing even more a mystery. What?
Mama, what is this?
Ah! Where did she spring up from? And did she just call the doctor Mama?
Mama Luigi. This is a lawyer, dear. Oh.
Hello, to meet you. Pleased to meet you. Yes, I'm a defense lawyer, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Mama.
Yes.
Can I cut this one?
Hey, lady! Hey, lady! What? What are you? How you? I'm going home! I'm going home!
I've never seen inside an Eastern person before. I want to know what it looks like. Of course you can't. It's a live specimen, as you can very well see.
What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Boring.
I think I just had a near-death experience.
Oh dear, Mr. Naruhodo, you're as pale as a corpse.
Then let's leave before I'm mistaken for one. Just about to say that. Well, I think we've all done all the investigating we can for now. Yeah, I can just determine the whereabouts of Mr. Drebber.
I'm sure Gina and little Toby won't let us down. Now then, do you think we ought to try to speak with Mr. Sholmes at this point? We have things to discuss, and I'm dying to meet him again after all these months.
Yes, it's quite possible he might know something useful. You're right. We had to find him at Madame Tuspel's. He's supposed to be working there as a temporary waxwork exhibit.
Yes, Iris told me all about his latest unusual venture.
Keep your little monster on a leash. What the fuck? There's no way that character's gonna be relevant. They just decided to make a model for her just for that? Just to be fucking creepy as hell?
Oh my, no wonder it's called the House of Horrors. I'd like to turn my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery.
Being scared makes you crave sweets? I can understand that. She's a kid!
But you know, there's something about that waxwork over there.
Oh, we should try punching it.
Looks exactly like Mr. Sholmes, down to the very last detail.
Aha! What is it? Oh, sorry, I think you'll find... That's the temporary waxwork himself. Hello, hottie, what is up?
Ah, the friend of my dedicated employee.
Oh yes, hello again, sweetie. It's Ryunosuke. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Haha. You can call me Bond.
I must say, I'm quite spellbound by the great detective. He is a marvel. My precious waxwork is already back where it belongs.
Wait, what? You don't mean...
But yes, the mystery is solved already.
Wow, Mr. Sholmes can really engage his brain when he's hungry enough.
So as you can see, he has returned to his habitual duties.
Yes.
His habitual duties? Hello? Do not disturb, eh?
Poor Susato-san. She looks very perplexed. What do you mean there's another woman in your life besides me, Naruhodo? The fuck do you mean? Hey, can we see him? I want to see the professor. Ah, yes, the heavy curtains in the middle of the House of Horrors. Whatever's on the other side of them, you just know it's going to be terrifying, don't you?
The sign says it's the Madame Tuspel's special exhibit.
Seems you have to pay extra to go inside. I know, can you believe that? Pay more money, as if we haven't been scared enough already.
It's not my doing, Mr. Naruhodo.
But I want to go in there.
We really do need to speak with Mr. Sholmes, and I am longing to say hello again. But where is he?
I think you might find that he's quite nearby, actually.
Oh. Wait, what are you...
Indeed, my dear fellows. The world-famous great detective and waxwork, Sherlock Sholmes.
Susato-san! Susato-san! Oh no. She got scared to death. Good job, Sholmes.
My most humble apologies.
That's not your voice. I don't know why I said that.
That I died and gone to eternal paradise for a moment, via London.
My dear madam, allow me to make amends by offering you a tasty free deduction at some point.
As long as it's not of questionable street food quality.
I don't understand. Why are you working as a waxwork here, Mr. Sholmes?
Merely a secret identity, you understand. Though the case is largely solved now.
Largely solved?
We're talking about the waxwork abduction, I presume?
Indeed we are, my good fellow. As I predicted, it was as easy as proverbial pie. Though I confess, I'm yet to partake of a pie, proverbial or otherwise. Or any food so far today, for that matter.
That stomach rumble echoed around the whole museum. So how'd you manage to solve it so quickly?
Ah, well, do remember I said it was largely solved. Anyway, I simply negotiated with the culprit. Are you familiar with the so-called telephone?
Oh yes, it's a most modern invention, allowing you to hold a conversation with people far away. In Japan, only the imperial capital and a handful of other cities are connected as yet.
This morning, a telephone call was received here from the perpetrator of the abduction. As such, I was able to negotiate terms, and in the end, the waxwork was returned.
That's amazing.
Just between you and I, it would appear the culprit had always intended to return the stolen waxwork in any event.
Oh, but I thought whoever was responsible had demanded a ransom, no?
Yes, I think perhaps the ransom demand was necessary to avoid unwanted suspicion regarding the true motive.
But does that not mean your negotiating was entirely unnecessary?
A fact that I must ask you to keep from Madame Tuspel's at all costs. A hungry young Iris awaits my return to Baker Street, after all.
Poor Iris.
Now then, do I sense that you have some business with this great waxwork?
We're in the process of trying to track somebody down.
Oh.
Yes, a man by the name of Enoch Drebber. He's the swindler who killed Professor Hairbrain and the engineer who built the kinesis machine.
A swindler and an engineer. Quite the modern man.
He also seems to be a conjurer of sorts too, with considerable knowledge of stage magic. We really need to locate him before the trial resumes tomorrow morning. But we have so few clues to go on, that's the trouble. Do you have any good ideas?
I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to have good ideas before one has data. If I knew something of the man's appearance at least, I may be in a better position to help.
Yes, Drebber's appearance.
Fortunately for you, however, presently I have little to occupy myself with and little to fill my stomach. So if you give me a picture, I shall look at it and then eat it summarily. As soon as you find any clue, no matter how small, I shall gladly give you my thoughts on it.
Hey, why you fucking lying? Why you lying? Hey, Mr. Sholmes, why the fuck you lying? In my canon, that's exactly what Naruhodo did just now.
My dear Mr. Naruhodo, stay that piercing stare. What is this about?
Last winter, when we were first on our way to Britain aboard the steamship, Your words were very clear.
So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder.
You told us that it was a murder, and you examined Kazuma-sama's body.
Indeed.
And wherein lies the problem?
We met him earlier today. The victim, Kazuma Asogi.
You're quite sure?
He was wearing some sort of mask and was apparently suffering from amnesia. But yes, I'm quite sure it was Kazuma-sama. You must have known at the time, Mr. Sholmes, that he wasn't actually dead.
Well, I can only assume I was swept up into the murderous atmosphere at the moment. But the fellow wasn't dead at all. Priceless. I don't suppose that performance would pass muster, would it, Mr. Naruhodo?
I could believe that the crewman present at the time made a mistake. But not you, Mr. Sholmes.
I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that.
Please, Mr. Sholmes.
Tomorrow in court, you will find yourself on the threshold of a very great mystery. For now, I'm afraid that is all I can say.
Mr. Sholmes, would you cast your eyes over this photographic print?
It's of Mr. Enoch Drebber, the face of the engineer we seek.
Well, all Englishmen look broadly the same, of course. Just looking at the photograph won't be particularly instructive.
You're alright, Mr. Sholmes. Hell yeah, Cabellia, good job.
Ah, yes, forgive me. Very interesting. This very interesting indeed.
What's wrong, Mr. Sholmes? You've turned quite pale all of a sudden.
I have a suggestion, Mr. Naruhodo. Will you indulge me?
Oh, well, what is it? What did you hear?
Oh, As I explained to you when you arrived, the missing waxwork has been returned.
All Englishmen look broadly the same. Yes, that's what he said.
I personally reinstalled it in the exhibit from which it was taken, behind those thick curtains.
Oh, yes, the Professor exhibit, isn't it?
Would you like to see it? For a mere 5 shillings. That's a special one-time only price, you understand.
What?
The opportunity won't come again, I might add. Wouldn't you like to see the fruits of my labor?
Oh, well, we do have a rather pressing investigation to carry out. Perhaps we could postpone...
It's gonna be fucking... it's gonna look like Drebber, isn't it? Maybe? I don't know.
Price is very reasonable, 5 shillings. I think you'll find it's well worth it.
Are you being quite serious, Mr. Sholmes?
Surely you need only to look at my expression to ascertain if this is seriousness or silliness.
I can never tell with you. That's the point.
Very well, it couldn't hurt. Here's your 5 shillings.
Those go to Madame Tispels, not you, Sholmes.
Gratefully received. So, the special exhibit awaits behind the curtain. I invite you to peruse at your leisure.
Well, the money's been spent, so... Now let's go see the special exhibit.
Through those heavy curtains at last. Send me through the curtains! I want to go! I've been waiting for this! Doesn't seem right somehow that Mr. Sholmes slipped the money into his own pocket, does it?
No. We could ask Gina to retrieve it
For us, using her special skills. She's pickpocketing police officers and diddling detectives. Is this what makes a Britain great? Not to mention demigod prosecutors taking the law into their own hands, or chip-loving inspectors.
Inspector Gregson comes off rather well in that list, I think.
Yeah, he's a good man. Oh, this is what we've been waiting for. I need to see what this guy's face. They've been hiding this guy's face for so long. They've been hiding his face for so long. What does the professor look? Well, that's not very helpful. That's not helpful at all now, is it? Wait! Is that wax of Drebber?
Oh dear, I felt a shiver run down my spine as soon as I walked in here.
Mr. Zato, I say we turn on our heels and go straight home via a really big confectionery.
We certainly can't do that. We paid 5 shillings already.
True. Actually, now I'm looking a little more closely. We've paid a good money to see an exhibit that's clearly incomplete. The nerve of the great diddling detective is far more terrifying than anything else in this place. Stop diddling me, Sholmes! This is what Mr. Sholmes meant when he said the case was largely solved. Be that as it may, Mr. Sholmes heavily implied there'd be a clue about the engineer in here, didn't he? But where? Since we've paid 5 shillings. Stop diddling me, Sholmes! Yes. Intentional wording, Capelliot. It's that fear of frustration that's making Suzato-san's voice tremble. Okay, yeah, can we look at this? This is pretty, I recognize him. This part of the exhibit is just as disturbing as the rest. It looks so real. It seems to be a young man in a white overcoat.
And he has a large shovel in his hand, too. Look.
Perhaps we should investigate a little more detail. Turn to look at me? No, can we? Yeah. What? Can we not see his face? Come on. What's this here?
Well, this would appear to be a lens in the middle, so I believe it's probably a camera.
A camera, but it's so small. British technology is incredible, isn't it? I mean, what about Mr. Sholmes' skin prints?
I think perhaps you should treat Mr. Sholmes' inventions as exceptions to the rule. But anyway, why would the man be in a graveyard at night with a camera?
I wonder. Perhaps he was trying to capture the moment a dead body came back as a ghost on film.
We'll just borrow this for a little while, I think.
Still in a camera, huh?
In the photographic plate inside the camera, we can see what picture was taken.
What's a photographic plate?
It's a piece of glass coated in a special emulsion that reacts to the light coming through the lens. If we open the cover at the back of the camera, we should find it. Let's have a look.
You should see yourself, Suzato-san. Your eyes are shining. You really do like machinery, don't you? It's quite a large lamp the man's carrying. Or is it a lantern? It's not like a Japanese shoshin paper lantern, actually, is it?
Lamp, lantern, shoshin. The point is, it casts very little light. To be walking alone in a graveyard at night with only this. Well, I certainly couldn't do it.
I'm not sure I could visit a graveyard at all, even in a broad daylight, to be honest. Can we talk about this guy's face? Please. Can't see his face very well, can you? Perhaps if I just...
Oh, do you think you should be manhandling the exhibits, Mr. Naruhodo?
I'll put it exactly as it was, don't you worry. Can we please look at his face?
Yep.
Ah, what on earth? How can...
I don't believe it. A black monocle.
Mr. Naruhodo, is it possible that this man is...
Yes. It's Enoch Drebber. The color of his hair is different, but it's unmistakably him.
Indeed it is.
Oh, indeed it is. Mr. Sholmes, I thought you were a sexy lady for a second.
This man, he's the subject of your present hunt, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Just who is this man? Why is he here in this exhibit? And why does the convict behind him have no head?
The head was missing when the model was returned by the thief who stole it.
What a surprise. So then the case isn't yet solved, is it?
Did I not say so myself? Largely solved were my words, I believe. But I must locate the missing head tout de suite, as Madame would say. So I'll be in grave trouble. That grave right there. A very hungry iris awaits my return to Baker Street, preferably with rations.
Do you know, though, something about this room is strange?
Yeah, no shit.
Well, the displays in the House of Horrors are supposed to depict real events, are they not?
Indeed they are, Miss Usato. Do go on.
And as terrifying as they are, the scenes in the other exhibits are believable. But this one... This surely couldn't ever really have happened, could it?
I think it's time I educated you a little about the nature of the incidents involving the professor 10 years ago.
Okay, first of all, before you do that, actually, I'm going to take a look at this camera print. Oh, look, the cover came open.
Yes, now there should be a glass plate inside. You have to change the plate with each new photograph you want to take, you see.
Something wrong?
There is no plate. It's been removed.
What a pity. But I suppose if you think about it, this wouldn't be the actual camera that was used at the time, just like the waxwork isn't the actual person. So we never found a photographic print of the executed convict coming back to life anyway.
Oh, yes, you're quite right, of course.
Poor Suzato-san, she looks devastated. Big sad. Big sad.
I believe I told you a little about Professor yesterday, did I not? He took the lives of 5 victims, everyone being either a member of the aristocracy or royalty. All were attacked by an enormous hunting hound and had their throats ripped from the bodies.
Oh-ho? Oh-ho? A hound, you say? A hound from a certain Baskin Robbins? The ice cream loving hound from Baskin Robbins did this?
Oh gosh, an enormous hound, how awful.
After taking the lives of his 5th victim, the killer was apprehended. It was a case of unprecedented magnitude in Britain, you understand. Accordingly, the professor was tried in a closed court. No members of the public were permitted.
Closed court. Assuming the professor's identity?
As you've surmised, my dear fellow, his identity was never made public. Naturally, he was found guilty and was summarily sentenced to death by hanging. He was buried in a graveyard Logue Gate Cemetery, which adjoins the rear of the prison where he had been held. However, that was not the end of the affair.
Oh.
The very night that he was buried, the convicted man came back to life.
Came back to life? Yeah, that's fucking incredibly suspicious, lass. Hella, though. Hella.
He clawed his way out of the ground and emerged into the moonlit graveyard. The exhibit here depicts that very scene as described by the sole witness to those chilling events.
There was a witness?
But of course, my dear fellow, it was none other than young man in the white overcoat.
Enoch Trevor. He saw it happen? This is a waxwork model made of Enoch Trevor.
10 years ago, the convicted professor, having been gibbeted and buried, emerged from his grave in the dead of night. The sole witness to that unimaginable scene was this young man. From appearances, I would say he was about 20 years old.
It's so horrifying.
Scared out of his wits, the young drummer ran to a nearby police station to report the incident. And the sheer terror of what he'd seen is said to have turned his hair white overnight.
The man was never executed, but is seen publicly. Yeah, gee, I wonder. Gosh, it's almost like they never actually killed him, huh? Yes, it's shown in the photograph. Does that mean they fucking buried him alive? That's kind of horrible. Like, yikes. Yikes to that.
For the following few days, the story of what he'd seen was on every front page of the capital. The public was frantic for every last detail about the killer who'd come back to life. As you've seen, an exhibit was even created here that Madame dispels.
I can quite understand why the man's hair turned white, certainly. But what I don't understand is what Mr. Drebber was doing in the first place. In a lonely graveyard in the middle of the night.
Yeah, what was he up to? As a grave robber, you know.
The professor's acts of terror threw London's upper classes into complete panic 10 years ago. It was a great scandal, I might say, at the very highest levels of society. And since the killer's identity was never made public, rumors abounded. After all, no killer had ever before systematically employed a dog as a weapon of murder.
Yes, I can imagine the impact the case must have had.
But in time, of course, the rumors abated. So too did talk of the shocking witness account of the convict who came back to life. It was forgotten, dismissed as dubious ghost story, as a preposterous parlor tale.
But why did people stop believing it?
Why? Simply because there was no resurrection to speak of, as was established in fact.
But what do you mean by no resurrection?
The police investigated the grave in Lowgate Cemetery and published their findings. The convict's body was found to be buried exactly where it had been following the execution.
No, but that would mean Mr. Drebber must have lied to the police and newspapers.
That would appear to be the only logical explanation, yes. The young man subsequently vanished from society and nothing has been heard of him since. It's rather striking, then, that he should resurface now, don't you think?
Of course the convicted murderer couldn't really have come back to life. That's not possible. But Drebber's hair is unusually white, and if that really did happen overnight as a result of shock, it's hard to believe the incident was an out-and-out lie. This is very interesting. I'm looking forward to Trial 2. Trial 2 sounds like it's gonna be some shit. Can I present the camera to you? You have anything to say about this? Mr. Sholmes, about this. No.
As you will see, I'm rather busy at the moment. With advice you seek, come to my office tomorrow and I shall be happy to help you. Shall we say, threepence per item as a consultation fee.
Only logical explanation. It's 2 hours of gas. Alright, mind if I take a look at this guy's lack of a head?
This must be the killer, the fiend known as the Professor.
Yes, I think so. According to what Madame Tuspel said, he killed 5 victims, all of noble and royal blood. Now, I'm genuinely curious. I mean, obviously the head's been removed for a very obvious reason. But what? Because she made the head. What does the head look like if nobody knows what the professor looked like? Because she lets people in here for money. So there must be something, right? Is it just a blanket? Like, what is it?
Waxwork is so lifelike, isn't it? Like all the models in this place.
I know. It looks like it could start moving at any moment, doesn't it? If only it had a head, that is. Perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail.
So this is the condemned man.
Yes, the so-called professor.
Then perhaps his head was chopped off by a guillotine.
Maybe she was the... Maybe she made it a prime suspect? Maybe. Yeah, I guess that's fair enough. Were there suspects even? Like, because if the prime suspect didn't get killed, right? That doesn't track to me. Because if you're a prime suspect in something, and then you're alive the day after the execution, then it wasn't you, right? Able to find PC emerged from his grave as a headless ghost! Do we have any entertain such terrifying ideas, Mr. Zato? Anyways, I'm sure the model here had a head once. There's a metal fitting for it, you see?
Then perhaps Mr. Sholmes absentmindedly forgot to reattach it?
That's an extremely absent-minded detective you're describing, isn't it?
Or perhaps the thief absentmindedly forgot to include the head when he or she returned to the museum.
It's very curious that they've been avoiding this whole head conversation. There's something there. Could there have been some reason why only the head wasn't returned? Well, whatever the reason, it means we don't know what the face of the infamous professor looked like, do we? But nobody did! Did they? There's something caught just inside the convict's jacket here. Looks like a piece of broken glass. Broken glass! You mean like crystal tower glass? It's very thick, isn't it? About 5 times thicker than normal window glazing, I'd say. Where could such a thick piece of glass come from, I wonder? I suppose it must have been made thick to increase its strength? But why?
Well, perhaps because the glass had to span a particularly wide area, such as a big building, for example.
Well, we've seen a large glass building recently, haven't we? And some of the glass is broken, too. You don't mean... Exactly. The Crystal Tower at the Great Exhibition.
Why would the glass from the Crystal Tower be lodged inside this waxworks jacket?
It makes you think, doesn't it? Does he look like Odie Asman? No, the inquiry established the kinesis experiment was a trick, and now we discover this fragment of glass here in the waxwork. Is it just a coincidence? Yeah, no, I don't think so. head looks like hairlock. Ah! Oh, hey. What in the bleeding Nora, Otto? What you gone done? Gina, what are you doing here? I asked Irish, and she said this is where you be. So, Gina, not so loud in the museum.
Madame Tuspills will have you take a position as a waxwork if you're not careful.
I think there might be a more pressing concern.
I still had some flash powder left from 6 months ago, so... Alright, Gina, we understand, but please, put down the gun. Sorry, I got scared. 'Cause we in the alley.
Fucking Siva cutter. She's trying to be on the other end of that barrel. So what brings you here, Gina?
What brings me here? What do you think? We found it. We found that dodgy girl's workshop.
What? You found Drebber's workshop? What if the wax was stolen before the kinesis experiment? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? Like it was stolen before and it was used as a body double. Toby, that's him. Toby did it. Toby's the goat. Toby the fucking goat, dude.
Boss and the others are heading over there now in a drag, so come on. Easy address. Got the boss write it out. Oh, thank you, Gina. We'll make our way there at once. Alright then, see you there.
You weren't invited. You weren't invited.
You go. Don't mind me. I'll just stay here being still.
That's not your voice. What?
I know my place. In the exhibit over there.
Oh dear, someone is feeling sorry for himself.
Let's go, Mr. Shums. You're coming.
Your words hearten me, I must say. But if I were to shirk my duties here, Madame would have me pay monetary recompense and Iris's dinner plate would be empty once more.
Forget that. I'll pay everything.
Then there's not a moment to lose, my dear fellow. I shall hail a carriage at once.
No offer to share the cost for Mr. Shums, then.
I shall gladly pay half, Mr. Naruhodo.
Thank you, Mr. Zato. Right, let's go. Baby. That looks like...
Oh, it's another super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine.
Indeed it would appear so, though only a prototype, naturally.
Ah, so you got here then? Gina, well done for finding this place. And in such little time. You've really worked miracles.
It's all Toby, though. It's Toby who's the miracle worker.
Toby! Toby! Oh, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? It's Toby! Toby's a good boy.
You're also a pretty good boy, Tobias.
Ah, thought you'll always show up before long.
What's with your eyes? Hello, Inspector. That's one knitted brow. Looks like he's eating a lemon, not a bag of fish and chips.
So, Inspector, is there any sign of the engineer?
Sadly not. We didn't find a soul here.
Oh, what a shame.
Well, thank you for letting us know about this place and giving us the chance to investigate.
According to what Jane tells me, we all find things so clearly that you lot turned up. I wouldn't want to say go to Paris with a debt of gratitude I paid now, would I?
Thank you.
Anyway, if you're open to super around here, I'll get cracking. Lord Van Zeeks and the forensic investigation team are on the way as we speak.
Then again...
Imagine you got the picture by now. They don't take too kindly to lawyer types.
Right.
So then, my dear fellow, let's turn this place upside down whilst we have the chance.
And you, Sholmes.
Pardon.
They take even less kindly to great detectives than they do lawyers.
Very droll, Gregson, very droll. But you may consider me nothing more than an inconspicuous waxwork model.
Gregson's like, you're fucking weird, mate.
Right, then let's see what we can find here. Well, I found some fucking arrows to start with. This is... So your beans are a quiver of arrows with steel bolts inside. You suppose?
Crossbow bolts, please. And just the right size for the bow you lot turned up at the exhibition grounds.
In other words...
Yep, that's more evidence to support your theory. It all goes to show that Drebber is one pulling strings behind the scenes of the whole scam.
This door doesn't want to open.
Yeah, looks like it's got a pretty hefty lock on it.
There's a specialist locksmith on his way over from the yard. So hands off till he gets here.
With permission, Inspector. I could have that lock open in less than a minute.
Well, you don't have permission. Ain't no one's giving it to you.
Gregson looked as though he really enjoyed that. Look at it! That's a new actually fucking animation for Gregson's face. I don't think I've ever seen his face look like that, but this is the happiest. It's the fucking happiest I've ever seen Gregson's model. He's actually overjoyed at the fact that he got to tell Shelves off. It's so slight. It's such a slight difference. It's like an eyebrow, like the mustache is slightly curled up and the eyebrow is done. Oh my god.
It's Gregson. He's back.
It's great. He's back. Hey, Blanks, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
It's good.
I don't know how this happens, but pretty much every time I go out for dinner at like 6 or 6:30,
Yeah.
I come back and it's 3 hours later.
Yeah.
I wasn't even doing anything fun. Like, I was hanging out with like 2 people and we weren't talking much, and somehow all my time's gone.
Is eating food fun? You put food in your body?
Yeah, but I was done with that pretty quickly.
Oh.
Well, there's no sign of anyone on the other side.
No, Drebber must have fled at the first sign of danger.
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. That machine is covered by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. There'd be serious repercussions if you were to examine it, from the Crown and the government.
Shams! Get Shams! Well, those two don't seem to be holding back.
It's quite hollow inside. More wicked parts of devices and deception to be seen, my dear fellow.
Well, this train's dropped on fall on nothing. Not even a bone for Toby here, my dear fella. British people are very much ruled by their own ideals, aren't they?
I think that's just these two, Miss Susato. Oh, fuck.
It's weird of them to say British people.
What do you mean?
Because it's the meme. British people is an oxymoron.
Oh. I thought that was French people.
You see it for French too.
Yeah.
Like I saw something about like the volcano recently, and it was like, here's what the volcano cloud would look over France, and someone's like, so close.
What on earth is this?
An aeroplane, Mr. Naruhodo. One day scientists believe it will allow humans to fly freely in the skies.
Is that how the trickle described is it?
Sorry?
Well, it's actually suspended by a thin but very strong cable, isn't it? Oh shit! God's holding the cables!
Oh, well, yes, this model, yes, but a real airplane would actually fly high in the sky.
While suspended from somewhere even higher in the sky, of course. Because large metal
Ryunosuke's a
objects...
genius.
Because large metal objects obviously can't really stare in the air mid-supported.
So
Wait, are you playing as Ryunosuke?
Yeah. Like we always have been.
Oh, sorry. Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Naruhodo's boyfriend, the
Kazuma.
Kazuma. Okay.
He
For some reason,
he tripped
it's been
over,
a while. I'm sorry.
He tripped over a cat and died, and then it turns out
Yeah.
and then it turns out he isn't actually dead. He's actually
What?
a masked man. He's a masked man, and he works for Van Zieks now.
What?
Yeah, we're gonna see him
That's
tomorrow.
the best news I've heard all day.
Really?
I mean, I don't understand why he's living in secret, but it's good to know he's not dead.
He has amnesia, I think.
Oh. I wonder how you'll de-amnesify him.
At the behest of Lord What's-His-Fuck. Strongheart. Obama Man. What's his trophy? He has a minor case of severe brain damage.
Ah, this appears to me most interesting. Yes, most interesting indeed, wouldn't you say?
It's an impressive looking back massager, that's for sure. I have no doubt if you hit your shoulders a few times with that, your aches and pains would soon go away.
It's a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science. A young scientist could wish for no higher honor.
Ah.
Would you like a massage?
No, I'm fine, thank you. I had no idea it was such a grand thing.
I think it's becoming increasingly clear that there's much more to this Mr. Enoch Drebber than conjuring tricks.
I couldn't agree more, my dear madam. And how about you, Mr. Naruhodo? Wouldn't you like to take it with you? For your tired shoulders, of course.
He's not gonna let that go, is he?
It's curious, though, isn't it? You would expect such an important trophy to be proudly on display somewhere, not haphazardly cast aside. English gentlemen can be quite a mystery at times.
Oh, thud. We'll get to the thud in a second. Alright.
3 minutes is probably good enough for hot chocolate.
Probably. Stormy the meme is a minor case of serious brain damage, SMH. This little lone metal plaque here, fostering burgeoning talent for the future of scientific discovery.
Seems rather ironic, doesn't it?
But clearly Mr. Dubber really was a very talented scientist. Is someone home? Something wrong, Mrs. Otto.
Well, I thought I heard a noise from the far side of that door. Well, Gina? Did you hear it too?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon, Toby?
Right, mind the grease. Whoever's in there, open up. There's a Scotland Yard.
Oh, there's a fucking horse in there? Oh, someone's running away.
Oh my, someone is in there!
Ah, this rotten bleeding lock! My dear Gregson, as I said only minutes ago, if only we were accountants, I could unlock that door in less than a minute. Fine, I'll take the rap for it. Just get us through that blasted door. There, you may enter at will.
You've confused minutes with seconds, I think.
Time is of the essence, I feel. What are we waiting for? None for it, I suppose. There's an emergency. There's a strong possibility that beyond that door is the engineer you all seek. Be prepared for action, my dear fellow.
Yes. There's a bomb. There's a bomb on the ground. There's a bomb. What's happening here? Why is everything upside down?
Rats, there ain't no one in here after all. But there must be. It was only moments ago that we heard those noises.
Maybe it's the sound of Drebber running away. There's footsteps on the ceiling! This dude flipped the whole ass room! There's only one door in this room.
Oh, but there are skylights.
There are no windows that could afford an escape route. Those skylights are too high.
There's fucking footsteps up there, though! What's that up there? Are they footprints on the ceiling?
Blow me!
Alright, if you insist.
Get on my knees. What were you then? Looks like someone was trying to burn something up in a hurry.
Are we not acknowledging the bomb sitting in the middle of the room?
Oh, that looks like a set of blueprints.
To what?
To that Professor Airbrain's bombing machine, is it? Blimey! If we had these there, there'd be no need to muck about trying to investigate all that scrap metal. There's something of great interest here, too. This rope was lying on the floor at the foot of that pillar.
A rope? What's significant about that?
Never mind. You see, but you do not observe, Mr. Naruhodo.
We must investigate the entire room thoroughly, and before investigation team arrive too.
I'm glad someone's fucking looking at the bomb. Mr. Shams, have you found something?
Mr. Naruhodo, yes, in point of fact, something rather fascinating. What do you make of this?
Let's see. I've never seen anything like it before. It looks like a bundle of thick cigars wrapped up in a large red... Ah! Mrs. Otto, what's the matter?
That's a... Surely that's a time bomb, isn't it?
What did you say?
It's gonna explode time?
A time bomb.
Sorry, but What is a time bomb exactly?
You truly are one of a kind, Mr. Naruhodo.
I won't take that as a compliment. Oh, you don't know nothing, do you, Otto? You haven't got a clue what it is either, have you, Gina?
I invite you to consult a dictionary later, Mr. Naruhodo. But this particular specimen is no time bomb, though I confess it has a very similar appearance.
Oh, well, thank goodness. But then, what is it?
I see, so that's it.
Goodness, Mr. Sholmes, have you seen to the heart of the matter?
There are times when I consider my lot most unfair, for I'm fated never to know how it feels to flounder as you do when a puzzle presents itself. But I have learned to accept that hardships come with being a great detective, Mrs. Otto.
Here we go. I feel a great deduction coming.
Once again, I can draw two conclusions from the scene we see before us. The first is that the inverted nature of the furniture in this room is the work of Drebber himself.
Oh, but how could you...
And the second conclusion is that the small device on the floor there is without question completely genuine.
Please, Mr. Sholmes, you must explain everything.
It would be a pleasure. After all, it is a great detective's civic duty to teach Scotland Yard the final points of the trade.
Well, Inspector Gregson seems delighted with the idea anyway.
Oh, you deflected the inspector's glare with such fortitude there, Mr. Sholmes. Well done.
You're too kind, my dear madam. I hereby dedicate this great deduction to you. Kindly stand just there, Mrs. Otto.
Oh, yes. I'd be delighted.
So, shall we begin? Once again, Sherlock Holmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular.
Oh, yay. It's back.
It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the table and the chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had until recently been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down onto the floor.
Every item in the room was on the ceiling. Are you suggesting that...
Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the Earth. For the gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality.
Goodness!
The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth of the part played in gravity about this whole business. I quite understand your skepticism, Miss Susato. I too was incredulous at first. However, my conviction in my analysis was cemented when I observed this. An anti-gravity device, almost identical to the one that featured in a dream of mine, only the other day in fact.
But then why does it have a clock on it?
A most relevant question indeed. That is a timing device that controls when the gravity direction will switch. There was clearly a requirement for the engineer to be able to restore normal gravity automatically.
Sholmes, that's a bomb. In the commotion we hit it, I guess that messes with gravity in that it sent thing up sometime. You just said teleportation spec is true, he did say that.
In the commotion we heard earlier from the other side of the door was but the moment the restoration occurred. Yes, the reason why everything here has been turned upside down is because of that anti-gravity device. So you see, we need look no further to explain the state in which we now find this room. The direction in which gravity acts in here was reversed by Mr. Drebber, before being restored to normality as an automatic fashion by some time later by the timer device. I've witnessed precisely the scene in a dream I once had when I fell out of bed.
Of course he did. Because gravity was reversed. I witnessed it in a dream.
Now let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads.
Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling?
A question which answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Of course, Trevor's aim was singular, to escape. However, there is but one way into this room, excepting the skylight, that is. By inverting the gravity in here, Drebber was able to fall conveniently to the ceiling and make his escape via the otherwise inaccessible skylight, leaving those footprints behind on the way.
So what happens when he goes through the room? Does he fall into the sun?
Well, the ceiling in here is very high, Mr. Sholmes. If the gravity reversal was sudden, wouldn't Mr. Drebber have fallen up to the ceiling rather violently?
Falling up is both scientifically and philosophically a rather interesting concept, I feel. But the man was cornered with nowhere to run, so to escape through the skylight was his only option.
He's fucking hiding in that fucking closet.
You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution.
Oh, the rope.
To reach the intended destination, what a better tool than this rope? By anchoring one end to the wall, the man was able to lower himself safely to the ceiling. Which explains how Drebber was able to escape this room before our arrival. He reversed the pull of gravity and fled via the skylight. And personally, I should very much like to reverse the pull of gravity again just now. Just for fun.
He's in the. He's got to be in the fucking closet, right? I mean, maybe not, but like.
Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle.
Good job, bud. Now, about all that nonsense you just said. Yeah, hidden passage, right? Probably. She's completely spellbound. Mr. Sholmes, there's just one thing that troubles me.
I would expect nothing less. You're destined to be troubled by just one thing for the rest of your life.
Mood. Fucking mood. The thing is that actually possible? An anti-gravity device, I mean. Toby's the best.
I would say that with the man's current scientific knowledge at the turn of the 20th century, it's no more possible than instantaneous kinesis.
Which you said was impossible. Which you said was impossible. But your whole deduction hinges on it.
Ah, but my dear fellow, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. However improbable it may seem. It's a marvelous line, wouldn't you agree? One of my more enduring pearls of wisdom. I had Iris come up with the exact phrasing. My original was clumsy.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe I've had to read it in something that Mrs. Otto let me once.
Actually, there is one other thing, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, the spell's broken at last.
The rope you found was on the floor, wasn't it?
Indeed it was, in lonely coils near the wall.
But if Mr. Drebber had used it to escape the way you described, wouldn't it still be tied on the wall?
Mysteries inevitably unravel in the end, as I think you'll find do ropes. As the evidence of such, you need only look at the mystery we face in this room, now skillfully unraveled.
That argument is as circular as coils of rope.
I think perhaps we might need to give Mr. Sholmes a useful little helping hand. I'm sure with some minor corrections, the great detective's great deduction will lead us to the truth.
Yes, you're right. And we must do it quickly before Enoch Drebber gets too far away.
If you're ready, then let us resume. Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular.
Hold it, Mr. Sholmes!
It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the table and the chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had until recently been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down onto the floor.
Every item in the room is on the ceiling. Are you suggesting that?
Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the Earth. For the gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality.
Goodness.
The inverted furniture.
Question mark?
To think gravity could have been reversed in this very room, I find the whole idea utterly enthralling. Only Mr. Sholmes could conceive of such an explanation.
The man himself admitted it was a scientific impossibility, so...
Yes, you're quite right. We must completely discount the idea at once.
Ooh, that's unusually merciless of you, Mrs. Zato.
When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. The great detective himself said so, didn't he?
While refusing to part with his dreams of anti-gravity devices.
Yes, I suppose so.
Well, let's see if examining this topsy-turvy scene just a little more closely reveals some proof that shows exactly what the gravity in this room was or wasn't doing. Let's see. Large safe. Can we open this? Ah, look, Mr. Zato. When everything seems to be upside down in here, this safe is conspicuously the right way up. Have you noticed?
Yes, that's true, but look more closely at the safe's feet.
Ah, that's a lot of very large bolts fixing it to the floor. Think before you speak, that's what you wanted to say, isn't it? I really put my foot in my mouth there.
I certainly didn't say that.
All the furniture in here is very conspicuously upside down, certainly.
Yes, it does immediately put your mind
to some strange quirk of gravity, I admit.
How could it be that a mini whirlwind passed through in here?
Well, okay, no, he flipped it all on purpose. This guy does that. He's a dude that does shit like that. Oh dear.
Saying the first thing that comes into your head isn't the way forward here, it seems.
Upright vase. Well, well, I wasn't expecting to find a pretty bunch of flowers in here, that's for sure. Oh, look at that. I know, this slender little vase looks like it's about to topple at any moment, but the flowers are thriving. Oh, it would have been broken.
To be honest, Mr. Naruhodo, something else about it made a rather deeper impression on me.
That it's not just shards.
Yeah, that it didn't flip and become shards.
Either it didn't, like, either nothing fell or other things did fall, and this was put here afterwards.
No, I'm pretty sure. So this guy Enoch Drebber, he's a well-known illusion. Like he does like illusionist stuff. Like the whole case that we were dealing with yesterday ended up being like a thing that he faked, and so like he would totally fake flipping everything upside down specifically to make people think that gravity was flipped. I think he's hiding in the closet.
Or wouldn't it be funny if like you're just not allowed to check the closet, and then afterwards he's like, I was in the closet the whole time, and people are like, oh, we should have just checked that.
Yeah, maybe
this would have been so much simpler.
Maybe there's something behind the closet. Yeah. He's gay?
Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, you surpassed yourself by completely turning my argument on its head. Trying to impress your assistant here, perhaps?
No one is trying to steal your spotlight here, Mr. Sholmes. Trust me.
As you rightly say, though it appears at first glance that all the furniture in the room is upside down, this unassuming slender vase is standing keenly to attention. And unlike the large safe, there is nothing affixing it to the floor. And it's the exception that breaks the rule. In short, much as it pains me, the gravity in this room was never inverted at all!
My deepest sympathies for your loss.
Oh, poor Mr. Sholmes.
But the show must go on, so let us continue with our deductions. Now that we know this contrivance is not in fact an anti-gravity device, there remains but one other possibility.
You don't say.
Someone deliberately turned over every piece of furniture in here.
Which might sound obvious, but leaves one mystery very much unsolved. Namely, why would anyone choose to do that?
Quite, and naturally there is an explanation. Yes, the reason why everything here has been turned upside down is because of an anti-gravity device.
He's absolutely determined that this device must have something to do with it, isn't it?
I'm afraid the lure of an exciting scientific explanation is too strong.
Well, there's no doubt that somebody did this. Somebody turned all this furniture over. So whoever it was must have had a reason.
I'm afraid nothing comes to mind at all, though.
Well, let's look around and see if the answer presents itself. Can we open the safe? Look, there's something written on the underside of this armchair.
Oh yes, safe. 432582.
Safe? As in safe and secure?
As in secure lockable box, I think.
Admittedly more likely.
Well, there's a large safe bolted to the floor on the other side of the room, so yes.
So you mean this number would let us open it?
I wonder why it's written here, though.
Take that!
Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the safe combination.
Precisely! I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that you had a very similar experience once, did you not?
Yes, last year, when I bought a lottery ticket and noted the ticket number down on the inside cover of a book just in case.
That's it! For people who are forgetful souls at heart and always make a written note of important information.
Just keeping the ticket itself safe would be more sensible, I think.
And what, pray, happened next, Mr. Naruhodo?
When the day of the draw came around, I'd forgotten which book I'd written the number in and had to turn my room upside down to find it.
That's it! For people are forgetful souls at heart and always forget where they've noted things down.
Not if you always note things in the same place.
I actually won the second prize, you know. But I couldn't remember which magazine I'd slipped the ticket into, so I had to turn my room upside.
Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo, but I believe I've proved my point now. Which is that very similar scenario which is clearly unfolded in this room.
Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed the combination code. He remembered that he'd written on the underside of a piece of furniture, but forgot which one, leading to the state in which we now find the room.
Yes, Mr. Drebber overturned all the furniture in here in a desperate hurry to locate the combination code that would unlock the safe. Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads.
Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling?
A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight.
Well, if a change in the direction of gravity can explain it, then how did those footprints get up there?
Yes, I feel as though that particular mystery has just become ever harder to solve.
Can't think of any other way to explain it at all.
I mean, they're very conspicuous footprints. They're probably put there intentionally.
Oh, life was so much simpler in those Helicon days when gravity could be reversed.
It was minutes ago, and those Helicon days never existed in the first place.
Well, I suppose we must simply put our faith in Mr. Sholmes and observe the area in more detail.
Putting our faith in Mr. Sholmes is what gets us into these situations in the first place. Yep, there's a shoe up there. Gas balloon. It's tiny. This seems to be a real balloon.
Yes, I think you're right. I think it's helium that's keeping it up.
A green gas balloon. Why does that seem to ring a bell with me?
You can see there are footprints on this balloon too. Look.
Oh yes, surely that's a clue, isn't it? That's hard to tell us. What? Yeah, there's a shoe. I don't know if you guys see the shoe. It's hard to believe, but there's a shoe up there. Look.
Oh yes, and there are more footprints on this little balloon too. Perhaps the shoe was thrown up there and became lodged, do you think?
If so, then, judging from the number of footprints, it must have been thrown up several times. Why would anyone be throwing shoes up the ceiling, though?
Oh dear, that's beyond me, I'm afraid.
To give the illusion. It's illusions! That's Enoch's whole thing! The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby shoe. And on closer inspection, there are clearly footprints all over the balloon as well. In other words, the aim was never at the skylight at all, but the balloon.
But for what purpose?
A green balloon. That seems somewhat familiar data.
Ah. It was a piece of the green balloon's envelope that Mr. Naruhodo and Iris found at the scene.
And inside the green balloon that Master Gotts claimed he saw above the stage when the incident occurred was the second birdcage, the crux of the whole instantaneous kinesis deception.
You mean to say...
If we assume the balloon in here is a model of the one used on that day, there is a strong possibility something may be concealed inside it. Something our absconder was desperate to retrieve before making a hasty getaway.
But the balloon's out of reach.
Hence why he resorted to a projectile, namely the shoe. but his dexterity isn't very high, so he missed it. It was probably Drebber intended to tear a hole in the envelope by assailing it with a shoe. However, his efforts were thwarted when the shoe itself became a prisoner of those lofty heights.
Oh dear. We desperately need to examine that balloon. If only there were some way we could see inside.
You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution.
Oh, the rope!
To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope?
Trying to pop a cloth balloon with a rubber shoe. Well, what if he was just trying to, like, knock it, like, down or, like, knock it towards the wall where he could grab it? Mr. Sholmes has managed to bring the deduction back to the rope. Alright, I have to admit, that was clever. So we just throw the rope up to the balloon and then pull it down on us to the ground?
Which is much easier said than done, I feel. And could take us a very long time as well.
True. Perhaps we need a more surefire method. In fact, we already have one, of course, don't we?
Take that!
To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this crossbow?
That was found at the scene, in fact.
In all likelihood belongs to Mr. Drebber.
If the man had only brought it away with him that day, he could have avoided losing a shoe at such a critical time as this. So, shall we? Your curiosity is deeply stirred, no doubt, my dear fellows. What is it that this Enoch Drebber has hidden inside that balloon?
Oh shit, is that the head? Is Enoch? Oh, it's all coming together. It's all coming together, guys. I'm gonna guess that's the head of the professor. That's the thing. That's why no one knows his identity, because he's got a mask on. So Enoch's the one that stole it. And he used it for the murder. A waxwork.
Hell yeah. Indeed it is. A waxwork head inside a middle mask. A mask that is shut tight and fastened with a strong and quite impenetrable lock.
So we can't see the face inside, that means.
Just a moment. This is the head of a waxwork model? Does that mean... Oh, goodness!
I see you've joined the dots, Mr. Zato. Excellent.
Of course. A headless waxwork model. The case of the abducted Madame Tuspel's model that you've largely solved, it was only the head of the killer that was still missing.
Indeed it was. But I believe Madame Tuspels will now have to settle her sizable account with me. This, as you have now surmised, is the head of the infamous professor.
Yeah.
But why is it here?
This conclusively confirms my suspicions. The man responsible for stealing the professor from Madame Tuspels and returning it, Sante, earlier today, was none other than Enoch Drebber.
This is incredible. Professor Harebrine's case and the waxwork abduction they're inextricably linked by Enoch Drebber's workshop. Can we take a look at that, please?
Well, it appears our logical pleasure cruise has come to an end, my dear fellows.
One sec, buddy. Before you continue, I need to look at this head. So where's the lock on this thing? There it is. This lock does look very strong, doesn't it? There's definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you.
What a terrible way to treat someone, even a convicted criminal.
I know, it's starting to make me livid, actually.
Mr. Naruhodo, please.
I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch on your cheek all of a sudden. You'd be utterly helpless.
Well, yes, that's true. But I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger.
Oh, right. Sorry. Is that all? Okay.
All that remains is, yes, to speak with the architect of this adventure.
The architect? You mean Mr. Drebber?
It seems quite impossible that he escaped via one of the skylights. Obviously, the man must still be in here in this room.
Hi, Post. Good job making it to stream.
His location should be abundantly clear. If you simply reflect on the journey we've made together during this deduction.
Enoch Drebber is right here somewhere in this room.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, will you do the honors?
Yes, of course. Mr. Drebber's hiding place must be the...
Take that!
Nope, it wasn't the wardrobe.
Nice.
All
Good
right,
call,
Mr.
dude.
Trevor, come out.
I feel like there are other places it could have been. I'm surprised you nailed that so long ago.
It wasn't it. I got it wrong.
Oh.
It was.
oh.
It's the safe, maybe. But I don't understand.
He locked himself in the safe, Houdini style.
Please don't mind us. Do go ahead. I know how fond you are of wardrobes. Cause you can't. Cause you're still in the closet, my friend.
Fucking destroyed him.
Oh, Cabelliot made the same joke. Very good. Yeah, let's try it again.
Wait.
Yeah?
What is post Discord
I don't know.
status? I'm gonna check.
I was thinking it could be the safe, but I was like, why would the dude lock himself in the safe? He can't get out later.
He's an illusionist.
I guess so. Oh, maybe actually. Oh shit, that's why it's fucking locked down to the ground, because there's like a staircase, not a staircase. What do you call a ladder? We heard noises from down here, which tells us the engineer. I'm genuinely curious now. And the Stormies are coming, and Bo is too.
Oh.
As the engineer was still in the building at that point in time.
Why is everybody stormy now?
Oh, because we're all hyped for Stormy to become the champion of the TDD offseason. She's been fucking absolutely railing her way through all the gym leaders. She's been on
shit.
fucking fire.
Yo, good job, Stormy.
Yeah, Stormy's like actually been like fucking hella MVP this offseason. It's been
Oh, fuck yeah.
It's been awesome to watch. I mean, every one of her wins has been well deserved, and she's playing like super well. It's great.
That's great, congrats. I didn't realize that. Hell yeah. I remember when you couldn't play Pokemon.
Right? Yeah, no, it's huge improvements from her. We're all very proud. And so we're all on the Stormy hype train.
Hell yeah.
In fact, he was searching for the combination of his case.
And presented for the time, made no attempt to right the furniture that he overturned in the process, from which we can deduce that his search for the combination happened very recently indeed. In summary, Mr. Enoch Drebber is at this very moment inside the safe. Thus concludes Herr Lockstrom's great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle.
No, not Purifier. We don't have a Purifier gym leader. You got that wrong, Post. It's not Purifier. She actually has many types, which is why she's been winning.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, well, I think perhaps it's time we ended this game of hide-and-seek, don't you?
By opening the safe, you mean?
What else?
Let's see. The combination was 1432582. I knew that! Alright, then here goes. Dude's a fucking contortionist as well? Or is there a... Oh, well... Hello.
You found me. You found...
I don't fucking know what voice I'm gonna do. Oh.
I don't like his position.
Oh, I love him. Oh, dude's a fucking he's a whole ass robot.
I like how
Oh my lord.
in the Phoenix Wright universe, Britain just actually was steampunk.
Oh my god, this guy is a cyborg. I'm in love.
Oh my god. Well, of course, he has asymmetrical eyes, and
his arm, one of his arms is a robot arm.
yeah, I know.
Robo arm, holy shit, and this music is dope.
What then,
He's
sir?
like,
Yeah.
he reminds me of Korekio.
God, he's fucking tall, lanky, robot arm. One of his eyes was different. Fucking, oh my lord. Dream
Wow.
man.
You may not like it, but this is the ideal male form.
I love his music.
What then, sir? Mr. Enoch Drebber, I presume? Correct.
You better start talking. You tricked Professor Hairbrain with that bogus machine you built.
And you shall have to explain the theft of the waxwork from Madame Tuspel's as well. Whilst I would be delighted to answer your many questions.
Actually, do we just do the Correcchio voice for this guy?
It would work.
Personally,
The voice you just did. Okay.
Personally, I would advise that you deactivate my little parcel first.
Yeah, I'm trying. Doing a middle ground. Your parcel. Yeah, his fucking bomb.
I refer, of course, to the time bomb. I left it in a most prominent position. I see. Stunned silence. You're all gearing up to die with me then.
No!
There was
Mr.
a pause on
Shanks.
gearing up in his like text box because he did a pun there.
With only 7 seconds to spare! That was too close for comfort. I've got one for the grave already! Are you trying to get us a kill or get us killed? Wait, that actually just was a time bomb and we spent all that time? That entire time it was ticking down while we were doing the fucking great deduction extraordinaire. The entire time it was counting down. Holy shit.
One of these times you're gonna start a great deduction and Sholmes is just gonna get mutilated in the middle of it.
So Sean's deductions
like
could be
reduced
completely
to
life
pulp.
altering, can't they?
Well, my dear fellows, that was a close shave. The resemblance to an anti-gravity device is really quite startling, I must say.
Oh, he was gonna use the bomb to release himself from the safe. That makes sense, to blow the door open. This guy's pretty fucking smart. Anti-gravity devices don't exist. Phew, I wouldn't push it, Mr. Sholmes. I fucking love this guy. What on earth happened here?
You found me, haven't you? No need to screw me down any further. Everything in here is precisely what it seems.
Yeah, we'll be giving it a thorough going over, don't you worry, Trevor.
What fails to click with me is how you were able to locate my workshop. That I was not expecting. When I heard whistling from the other room, I knew it was time to bolt.
Whistling?
Ah, that would have been me.
Oh.
For some reason, I woke up in a fine fettle today.
No words, just tightly squeezed chips.
Clearly, I must have a screw loose, though, as I could not remember the combination for the safe. And another one loose, as I couldn't remember on which piece of furniture I'd written it down.
They also found a rope over by the wall.
Yes, I had hoped to exit through the skylight, but sadly my rope was too short. So, I then set about searching for the combination code to open the safe.
And burning the incriminating blueprints, don't forget.
Regrettably, though, you failed to retrieve the head from the balloon amongst the rafters.
And after that, you hid yourself in the safe? Having first set this parcel ticking.
Well, I had no intention of being nailed by the police.
God, death wish, have you? I'm right beside a ticking time bomb.
Police, why do you suppose I chose to hide inside the safe? It's no ordinary safe. It's specially designed. A dynamite explosion wouldn't leave a scratch on it.
So in fact, the safe was the only safe place.
Precisely.
But once you climbed inside, you wouldn't have been able to get out again.
I invite you to look more closely. The safe is fitted with a handle on the inside to allow the door to be unlocked from within.
So it is.
I had always intended to blow this place to smithereens in any case. I just wasn't expecting an invited guest to come along and screw up my plans.
Do you mean to say you are planning to blow us all up?
No, that was unforeseen.
What do you mean?
Most people run, you see, when they see a ticking time bomb at their feet. I calculated the time required for retreat to safe distance and then set the device accordingly. But your seemingly endless discourse in here threw a spanner in the works.
Is something wrong, Gregson? Do I have something on my face besides the usual eyes, ears, nose, and mouth?
I love Sholmes like JoJo poses.
I think we have a fairly good idea what's been going on here now, but what about the 2 incidents you're evidently involved in recently? Professor Harebrand's instantaneous kinesis experiment at the Great Exhibition, and the waxwork model you stole, which this head belongs to.
That's no ordinary head, you know. That's the head of the Professor. Clad in a mask with a lock so strong, I'm unable to open it safely to reveal the killer's identity. I've been considering carrying around it as protection after all.
That's enough!
What's going on here, Gregson? I'm sure you're aware that I have sole jurisdiction to investigate here.
Yes, well.
Dr. Scythe again. So the forensic investigation team are here.
And you know full well this engineer is the key witness? Why are you allowing this lawyer access to him? If Lord Strongheart knew of this, you'd be finished. You lot, leave at once.
My dear madam, there's no need for such a threatening tone, I assure you.
After all, that's no way to greet an old acquaintance, is it, Dr. Scythe? Hello, Sholmes.
Mr. Sholmes knows Dr. Scythe?
If it's protecting the machine next door that's causing such a sour expression on your face, you are quite misguided. It's really nothing more than a shell. You get out.
But of course, we'll show ourselves the door.
I see you haven't softened at all.
Mr. Naruhodo.
Yeah?
It would appear, though, delightfully entertaining investigations have run the course for today.
But Mr. Sholmes.
Let us leave this place in the doctor's capable hands. I said get out! Now, all of you! Your presence here is not required either, Gregson.
Understood. But I'll just say one thing before I head off. If it wasn't for this lawyer and his companions, we'd never have found this place, and the whole workshop would have been blown to bits. There was a time bomb sitting here that this lord disarmed.
Spectre.
Okay.
He is just Correcchio. He does the k.
Yes.
I know my fucking anime archetypes.
Okay, we are doing... In that case, we are going to do Correcchio for this guy.
Some giving you a chuckle, has it, Drebber?
So sorry. Didn't mean to offend. You're quite right, of course. You did disarm the time bomb, didn't you? Yes, you did disarm that one.
I love this character.
Yeah, this guy's
creepy
as hell.
Very good. What are you... That one? You mean...
No! Toby's in here! Someone destroy the bomb before Toby gets hurt! Oh shit, oh! Uh-oh. Oh, those two policemen are dead.
I mean, it depends on how big the explosion is, right?
I guess. It was an hour later that we heard the news of the enormous explosion that ripped through the experimentation stage of the
fucked up.
Great Exhibition. This dude is a straight up fucking terrorist. Professor Harebrand's inspection and all his secrets are blown away forever. Holy shit, tomorrow night's case is gonna be epic. Yeah, he did just admit to terrorism. He's going to jail either way.
Well, so you're probably right. The cops are probably dead.
Dead as shit, bro. Alright. Oh shit, 9:11 a.m.? God, that's bad time right after an explosion. I hate that. Alright, anyways. That is gonna...
Okay, wait, did the localization team just miss that? That was really egregious.
Fucking giant explosion, literally next text box, 9/11. Of all the times to choose.
What's funny is, like, it's probably just directly from the Japanese
Yeah.
translation, right?
Right.
And to them, it's just like, oh, let's do whatever time.
Yeah. It just happened
They happen to
be-
pick a bad time.
They happened to pick a very bad time. Oh my lord.
For the American audience, anyway.
Yep. All right, well that is going to be
That's
it.
hilarious.
That's going to be it for tonight. Thank you all for joining. Tomorrow is trial time, baby. We're going to take down Drebber. I'm so excited. This guy is like my favorite character in this game already, and it's been 10 minutes. His aesthetic speaks to me, bro. Alright, well, yeah. Alright! See you tomorrow! I'll not see you tomorrow, and then I'll see you next week for Pokemon Legends Arceus. But tomorrow's gonna be pretty hype, so bye-bye!